Doupo, outstanding intelligence. Starting by joining the chat group. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276. Xiao Zan's relief comes to the world of Xiao. Xiao Fan nodded and said, "Father, you heard me right. Now I have indeed broken through to the Dowdy realm. Father should also know that my Xiao family was originally one of the 8 ancient clans, but since the ancestor Zhuan, the Xiao family has declined. Now I have broken through to the Dowdy realm, and you and everyone in the Xiao family have increased their strength a lot. It is time for the Xiao family to regain its former glory." At this moment, Xiao Zan felt like he was dreaming. His son actually became a legendary Dowdy. Moreover, because of the Dowdy bloodline, his cultivation has now been raised to the level of a 7-star Daoshan. This is definitely a realm that Xiao Zan never dared to think about before. Xiao Zan took a deep breath, suppressed the shock in his heart, and then said to Xiao Fan, "What do you want to do?" Xiao Fan said, "There is no rush. The strength of the Xiao family has increased dramatically. I am afraid that most of them have not yet adapted to their own strength. After they adapt to their own strength, we will officially announce the return of the Xiao family to the Dqi continent. In the near future, the Xiao family will be the real master of the Dqi continent." Xiao Zan said with relief, "Father never thought that you, Fanner, could achieve such an achievement. The Xiao family will be handed over to you in the future. How you want to lead the Xiao family is all up to you." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "I don't want to worry about family affairs. When the eldest brother, the second brother and the fourth brother come back, ask them who is willing to be the next patriarch of the Xiao family." Xiao Zan couldn't help but smile and shook his head when he heard it, but he didn't force anything. The father and son chatted for a while, and then they parted temporarily. Xiao Zan continued to deal with some affairs of the Xiao family, and at the same time informed everyone in the Xiao family of the reason for the sudden increase in strength. When everyone in the Xiao family learned that Xiao Fan had actually broken through to the legendary Dowdy realm, they were shocked and widened their eyes, their faces full of disbelief. Dowdy, Dqi continent has not seen such a terrifying strong man who dominates the world for 10,000 years. Unexpectedly, such a strong man would appear in the Xiao family now. This shocked everyone in the Xiao family, and they also felt a strong excitement and joy. Next, Xiao Fan stayed in the Xiao family temporarily. On the one hand, he instructed Xiao Zan to adapt to the skyrocketing strength, and on the other hand, he prevented someone in the Xiao family from getting too proud because of the skyrocketing strength, and gave them some deterrence. In fact, there were people in the Xiao family who were a little proud after their strength skyrocketed. They felt that they were now strong and should have more rights. They didn't quite believe what Xiao Zan said, that it was Xiao Fan's breakthrough to Dowdy that made them stronger. After the strength skyrocketed, a few ambitious people even wanted to replace Xiao Zan and become the controller of the Xiao family. After Xiao Fan found out, he showed no mercy and showed the might of Dowdy in front of everyone in the Xiao family, and killed all those people directly. Under Xiao Fan's strong deterrence, the other people in the Xiao family whose strength had skyrocketed also quickly calmed down. At the same time, there was no doubt about Xiao Fan's breakthrough to Dowdy. After staying at the Xiao family for a while and seeing that there was no problem with the Xiao family, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he shuttled to the Xiaoxian world through the Wanji chat group. After the Wanji sign-in system was upgraded, in addition to being able to trigger the sign-in task and get rewards in each world, there is also a guaranteed sign-in opportunity in each world. In the Pokemon world, Xiao Fan signed in and got the magic elixir of Dowdy Dan, which directly helped him break through to the Dowdy realm. Xiao Fan was looking forward to what rewards he could get by signing in the Xiaoxian world. Xiaoxian world, Dead Spirit Abyss. Bai Yao and the Ghost King Sex group were carefully shuttling through it at this moment, searching for the location of the dripping blood cave. Suddenly, in the deep of the dark and gloomy Dead Abyss, a space fluctuation suddenly appeared, and a mysterious light gate with golden luster slowly appeared above the Dead Abyss. "Everyone be careful." Among the group of people from the Ghost King sect, a tall woman wearing a black veil and black clothes saw the movement above the Dead Abyss, and her face suddenly showed a solemn look. and she warned her companions. "Ain't you? Don't worry. The person coming is my friend." A girl in green clothes in the crowd looked at the handsome figure walking out of the mysterious light gate, and said to the masked woman sideways. The green-clothed girl had thin eyebrows and beautiful eyes, and her jade-like skin was more beautiful than frost and snow. In this darkness, she seemed to be as beautiful as a demon, and there was a kind of soul-stirring and strange beauty. She was the young master of the Ghost King sect, Bai Yao. The reason why Bai Yao said so was because she had seen the same scene when she was in the Qi world, and she also recognized the owner of the figure who walked out of the mysterious light gate, Xiao Fan, the group leader of the Wanji chat group. "Mr. Xiao, why are you here?" Bai Yao said to the masked woman, then turned to look at Xiao Fan who was descending from the sky and asked curiously. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "I have nothing to do, and I am a little curious about the world you are in. So I came to take a look." "By the way, this doesn't seem to be your Ghost King sect, right?" When Xiao Fan descended into the Zhuzian world, he easily sensed the surrounding environment. There were not many people around, so it was naturally impossible for this to be the Ghost King sect's sect headquarters. Bai Yao said, "Young Master Xiao is right. This is the Dead Soul Abyss." Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly. "Dead Soul Abyss? It seems that you have come to the Dead Soul Abyss to look for the treasure in the dripping bleeding cave. The ant you mentioned by Bai Yao, that is, Yuji of the Ghost King sect." Heard what Xiao Fan said, her expression changed slightly, and she looked at Xiao Fan vigilantly, asking, "How did you know that?" Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Of course I have my channels, but don't worry, I won't compete with you. Of course, the premise is that you can get the things in the dripping bleeding cave. If I snatched it from someone else, it will have nothing to do with you." Hearing this, Yuji said in a deep voice, "It seems that you are here for the treasure in the dripping bleeding cave too." When the voice fell, Yuji's aura was awe-inspiring, and she looked like she was ready to fight at any time. Seeing this, Bai Yao said quickly, "Ain't you? Don't be impulsive. Since young Master Xiao said that he would not compete with us, he will definitely not break his promise. Let's wait until we find the bleeding cave first. There are not only us in the undead abyss, it seems that there are also righteous people mixed in here." Yuji frowned and said, "Will those righteous hypocrites really come to a place like the undead abyss?" Bai Yao said, "Maybe they didn't come involuntarily, but encountered some kind of change and broken by mistake. Anyway, we have to eliminate the righteous people in there first and find the bleeding cave, and then we can talk about other things." Hearing this, Yuji's face changed. Chapter 277, Sneaking in the Dark, the Power of the Black Water Serpent. After a while, Yuji said, "Okay, for Bai Yao's sake, I won't bother with you for the time being. However, I hope you can separate from us. The bleeding cave is of great importance. I don't want to work hard to find the place and then be intercepted by you. If you separate from us and act alone, and find the bleeding cave before us, that's your luck." Xiao Fan glanced at Bai Yao and then laughed. "Okay, then let's act separately." Bai Yao heard the conversation between Yuji and Xiao Fan, and looked at Xiao Fan with some guilt in her eyes, but after a little hesitation, for the sake of the interests of the Ghost King sect, Bai Yao still did not speak to Xiao Fan. After all, the relationship between Bai Yao and Xiao Fan is not that close now. Xiao Fan came to the Zhuzian world just to sign in. As for coming to the Dead Abyss, it was completely beyond his expectations. However, since he came to the Dead Abyss, Xiao Fan had some thoughts about the Heavenly Book in the Bleeding Cave of the Dead Abyss. If he could get the scroll of the Heavenly Book, perhaps he could deduce the entire content of the Heavenly Book and then master the traditional method of cultivating immortals. Xiao Fan has now come into contact with some cultivation techniques in the Qi world, the Zacian world, the Wudong world, the Fenian world and other worlds. Originally, the cultivation techniques in different worlds were different, and the power exerted in other worlds was also very different. However, Xiao Fan had a heaven-defined comprehension, and he blended all the cultivation techniques of different worlds together to form a set of cultivation techniques tailored for him. In addition to improving his own cultivation, Xiao Fan was more interested in constantly integrating the techniques of different worlds and systems into his own techniques. perfecting and creating more powerful unique techniques. After mastering such a powerful technique, even if there is no system and chat group in the future, he can reach a height that ordinary people cannot imagine through his own practice. Xiao Fan didn't care about Yuji and Bai Yao's attitudes. He nodded to Bai Yao, and then his figure flashed and disappeared from the sight of the Ghost King sect. After Xiao Fan left, Yuji asked Bai Yao with a serious look, "Bai Yao, where did you meet that young man just now? What are his origins?" Bai Yao hesitated and said, "I'm afraid you won't believe it if I tell you, ain't you?" Yuji rolled her eyes at Bai Yao and said unhappily, "You didn't even say it. How can I believe it? It's your business whether to tell it or not, and it's my business whether to believe it or not." Bai Yao hesitated for a moment and said slowly, "Young Master Xiao is not from our world, but from another world." Hearing this, Yuji was obviously unwilling to believe Bai Yao's words. "If you don't want to tell me, then forget it, but why bother saying such irrelevant things? From another world, could it be the fairyland? Seeing that you care so much about that boy, could you be attracted to him? I don't object to you making friends and falling in love, but before that, you should at least find out the other person's background, and don't be fooled." When Bai Yao heard Ji's words, her face turned red, and she said coquettishly, "Aunt you? What are you talking about? I know you won't believe it." "Forget it. Let's not talk about Mr. Xiao. Let's find the dripping blood cave as soon as possible." After that, Bai Yao went straight to the depths of the Dead Soul Abyss. Ji shook her head slightly, and followed Bai Yao with other people from the Ghost King sect. "Huh? There are 2 people there. They seem to be disciples of the Kinyan sect. I don't know how long it has been." Bai Yao suddenly found Xiao Fan and Lu Xuqi, who had also entered the Dead Soul Abyss, just like in the original book. Bai Yao's eyes flashed slightly, and she immediately walked towards the 2 people. Unexpectedly, there are really people from the right way who have also entered the Dead Soul Abyss. Ji was surprised and worried that Bai Yao would be in danger, so she followed with other people from the Ghost King sect. After Xiao Fan separated from Bai Yao and others, he didn't actually go far away, but just concealed his breath and temporarily sneaked not far behind them. The reason why Xiao Fan followed Bai Yao and the others was to meet Xiao Fan, the son of destiny in this world. In the original novel, Xiao Fan and Lu Xuqi were forced by Bai Yao and other people from the Ghost King sect, and had no choice but to retreat to the edge of the Merciless Sea, and then were swept into the Merciless Sea by the huge waves raised by the Blackwater Mystic Snake. Bai Yao, Yuji and other people from the Ghost King sect were also seriously injured when facing the Blackwater Mystic Snake. In the end, Xiao Fan and Bai Yao got together by accident and got the first volume of the Heavenly Book. The Dead Abyss is strange and peculiar. If Xiao Fan relies on himself to find the Heavenly Book, it will be difficult. The simplest way is to follow Xiao Fan, the son of destiny, and when Xiao Fan is about to get the Heavenly Book, he can intercept it. Facts have proved that Xiao Fan's idea is very feasible. Although Xiao Fan's intrusion, Bai Yao and the people from the Ghost King sect still met Xiao Fan and Lu Xuqi and forced them back to the shore of the Merciless Sea. Then, just like in the original novel, a huge black water snake rushed out of the Merciless Sea and attacked everyone. Because of the attack of the black water snake, Lu Xuqi and Xiao Fan were directly separated. Bai Yao and Xiao Fan were also swept away by the tail of the black water snake one after another. Xiao Fan watched all this silently and did not stop it. When he saw Xiao Fan being swept away by the black water snake, Xiao Fan directly used his body skills and caught up with Xiao Fan in an instant. "Miss Bai Yao, I didn't expect you to be here too." Xiao Fan showed up only after seeing Xiao Fan dragging a big tree and falling to the ground on the cliff. He chuckled at Bai Yao, who had arrived here before Xiao Fan. As for Xiao Fan, he fainted directly after falling to the ground. "Mr. Xiao, why are you here too?" Bai Yao was surprised to see Xiao Fan appear here. She and Xiao Fan were both swept out by the black water mystic snake and forced to land here. However, she did not see Xiao Fan being swept by the black water mystic snake, and Xiao Fan also appeared here, so she was naturally surprised. Xiao Fan shrugged slightly. "I was looking for the dripping blood cave nearby, and I sensed 2 figures flying over. so I came to check. I didn't expect that one of them was you. I thought it was some powerful person flying over. Looking at your situation, it seems that you were beaten up by someone. By the way, could it be the black water mystic snake? Bai Yao smiled bitterly and said, Mr. Zhao guessed it right. I was swept here by the tail of the black water mystic snake. Rumble. At this moment, a terrifying vibration sound suddenly sounded on the surface of the merciless sea not far away. It was the black water mystic snake, chasing Bai Yao and Xiao Fan, as if to kill them all. No, the black water mystic snake is chasing us. Seeing this scene, Bai Yao's face suddenly changed, and she couldn't help but exclaimed. Bai Yao had seen the power of the black water serpent and knew that if she faced it head-on, she would have no chance of survival. Chapter 278 Bai Yao shock. Xiao Fan looked in the direction of the sound and saw that the black water snake was extremely large. Its eyes were like two huge bright lights shining with a faint green light in the dark abyss of the dead. Its lower body was coiled, and its body was immersed in the sea water. The people were less than 1/3 of the thickness of the huge snake body, but the upper body and head of the black water snake standing in the air were already dozens of feet above the ground. After the black water snake chased here, it let out a low roar, moved its body, and swept its huge tail that was originally immersed in the sea water. The next moment, it lifted a row of water walls that were several feet high and several dozen feet wide, and they attacked Xiao Fan and Bai Yao. In the water waves, there was a black snake tail mixed in, and it threw it towards Xiao Fan and Bai Yao with boundless energy. Mr. Zhao, let's run. Seeing this, Bai Yao exclaimed and quickly flew over the cliff. Dragon power. Xiao Fan was not as flustered as Bai Yao. He shouted in his heart and directly used his magical power, Dragon Might. Then, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and the 5 fingers of his right hand opened. A terrifying black vortex appeared between his palms, which was another magical power he mastered, swallowing heaven and devouring earth. Dragon Might has a great suppressive effect on all beasts, and it is even more obvious for snakes. The black water mystic snake felt the magical power of Dragon Might displayed by Xiao Fan, and suddenly trembled all over, and a feeling of fear emerged from the bottom of its heart. A pair of huge vertical pupils flashed with hesitation, and then turned around suddenly, intending to dive into the depths of the merciless sea again. As for the effect of the previous attack, it didn't care. Under Xiao Fan's magical power of swallowing heaven and devouring earth, the water waves brought by the huge tail of the black water mystic snake were instantly swallowed into the vortex in the palm, and then turned into pure energy and fed back to Xiao Fan. Not only that, the terrifying power of swallowing heaven and devouring earth also wrapped the tail of the black water mystic snake. Since you're here, don't leave. Xiao Fan looked at the struggling black water mystic snake and chuckled. Roar! The black water mystic snake roared again, with anger and a little fear in his voice. Apart from its natural enemy, the yellow bird, the black water mystic snake had never encountered such a powerful enemy, and the opponent's methods were so strange. Boom! Seeing that its tail could not escape the devouring power, the black water mystic snake turned around fiercely and set off a huge wave again. The black water mystic snake turned around and opened its bloody mouth and swallowed Xiao Fan fiercely. Although the black water mystic snake could not speak, it was very smart. It knew that the strange devouring power was emitted by Xiao Fan. As long as it killed Xiao Fan, the devouring power would naturally disappear. Want to eat me? You're still a little short of it. Seeing this, Xiao Fan smiled and shook his head, and the devouring power in his palm increased again. At the same time, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and a lightning sword flashing with purple lightning appeared in his left hand, and he slashed towards the smelly bloody mouth of the black water snake. Shoo! Without waiting for the black water snake to react, the lightning sword suddenly slashed down, directly splitting its bloody mouth in half, and even the half of its body facing Xiao Fan was directly split in half. The black water snake didn't even have time to scream, and was killed on the spot. The two halves of the body seemed not to be dead yet. After falling into the ruthless sea, they twisted and set off waves again. Come! After killing the black water snake casually, the lightning sword in Xiao Fan's left hand disappeared, and then a dark swallowing vortex appeared, launching a swallowing force towards the other half of the black water snake's body. The two halves of the black water snake's body were soon swallowed up by the swallowing vortex in Xiao Fan's palm. All this is a long story, but in fact it happened in a flash. Bai Yao, who was fleeing, sensed the movement behind her, turned her head subconsciously and was stunned. In the eyes of her, Yuji, and other disciples of the Ghost King sect, the terrifying black water mystic snake, which had no power to fight back, was killed so easily by Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan's strength was too strong. Seeing that the black water mystic snake was dead, Bai Yao lost the intention to continue fleeing. She stopped and looked at the huge body of the black water mystic snake, which gradually entered the dark vortex in Xiao Fan's palm, with surprise in her eyes. What a terrifying vortex! What kind of method is this? Xiao Fan ignored Bai Yao's thoughts and concentrated on devouring and refining the body of the black water mystic snake, and soon absorbed it all. What Xiao Fan didn't expect was that after devouring and refining the black water mystic snake, his cultivation level, which had just broken through to the D realm, was improved by a large margin. This was a pleasant surprise for him. Are you okay? After dealing with the black water mystic snake, Xiao Fan looked at Bai Yao on the side and chuckled. When Bai Yao heard Xiao Fan's voice, she immediately put away her thoughts and shook her head and said, "It's okay. May I ask what happened to the vortex in Mr. Zhao's palm just now?" Xiao Fan smiled and said, "That is a magical power I have mastered. The vortex in the palm looks very small, but in fact it can swallow the sky and the earth, even if it is hundreds of times larger than the black water mystic snake. As long as your cultivation level is not higher than mine, I can swallow and refine it." What a terrifying magical power. Hearing this, Bai Yao was shocked again. After a pause, Bai Yao said, "By the way, I have to thank Master Xiao for saving me just now." Xiao Fan smiled slightly when he heard that. "You're welcome. The black water mystic snake attacked more than just you." Bai Yao smiled and said, "No matter what, Master Xiao saved me, so I still have to thank him." "Then I will accept your gratitude," Xiao Fan responded with a smile, and then suddenly walked towards Zhang Zifan on the ground, or rather towards the fire stick next to Zhang Zifan. Xiao Fan leaned over slightly and held the fire stick in his hand. Buzz! The fire stick was held in Xiao Fan's hand, but it suddenly trembled, as if trying to break free. Bai Yao stepped forward and asked with a smile, "Mr. Xiao, are you also interested in this fire stick?" Xiao Fan said, "This is not a fire stick. It is more appropriate to call it a soul-devouring magic wand. It is a fusion of two extremely evil things, the bloodthirsty bead and the soul-sucking stick. In the process of the fusion of the two, the essence and blood of this Zhang Zifan were used as the medium, so Zhang Zifan could become its master." Bai Yao nodded slightly when she heard this. "I see. No wonder Aunt you said before that this fire stick is not simple." As the young master of the Ghost King sect, Bai Yao naturally heard of the bloodthirsty bead and the soul-sucking stick. "Give me back the fire stick." At this moment, Zhang Zifan on the ground woke up. Seeing that Xiao Fan had taken his fire stick, he subconsciously asked Xiao Fan for it. Chapter 279 The Reward for Saving Lives. Find the Bleeding Cave. Xiao Fan looked at Zhang Zifan, who had difficulty even sitting up, and chuckled. "Do you think that in your current state, you can take this soul-devouring wand from me?" Bai Yao smiled and said, "Do you still remember the scene when you were whipped away by the black water mystic snake? Even the black water mystic snake died in the hands of Master Xiao. I advise you not to seek death." When Zhang Zifan heard Bai Yao's words, his pupils shrank slightly, and he was very nervous. He had personally experienced the strength of the black water mystic snake. He didn't expect that the young master in front of him could actually kill the black water mystic snake. Isn't it too strong? However, they are not deceiving themselves, right? Zhang Zifan, who had not yet had much experience in the martial arts world, asked what he was thinking subconsciously. The black water mystic snake is so terrifying. How is this possible? You didn't lie to me on purpose, did you? Xiao Fan said indifferently, "It doesn't matter whether I lied to you or not. This fire stick is my reward for saving your life. We have no grudges, and I don't like to kill people at will. Let's say goodbye. If you want to compete with me for this soul-devouring magic wand in the future, you should be prepared to die first. After that, Xiao Fan ignored the hesitant Zhang Zifan and walked away directly. Xiao Fan did not kill Zhang Zifan directly, just as he said. He did not like to kill people at will. On the other hand, Xiao Fan felt that Zhang Zifan, the son of destiny, might not be so easy to be killed by him, especially in a world like this. The theory of destiny is illusory and difficult to explain clearly, and Xiao Fan was too lazy to think about it. If you want to live, it's better not to come to Mr. Zhao, Bai Yao warned Zhang Zifan with a smile, and then followed Xiao Fan's steps. Zhang Zifan looked at the two people's backs as they left, his eyes changing constantly, but in the end he could only sigh helplessly. Then he gathered his mind and began to practice Qigong to heal his wounds. On the other side, after Xiao Fan forcibly took the fire stick, he directly uploaded it to them all of the Wanji chat group and exchanged it for a sum of points, ready to use to buy other items in the future. As for now, Xiao Fan was preparing to go to the Dripping Blood Cave and take the heavenly book in his hands. Mr. Zhao, where are you going next? Bai Yao asked Xiao Fan with a blink of her eyes after she quickly caught up with Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan said, of course I'm going to look for the Bleeding Cave. Aren't you going to look for the Bleeding Cave? When Bai Yao heard about the Bleeding Cave, she suddenly remembered Yu Ji, who had been separated from her by the Black Water Mystic Snake. She was a little depressed. I don't know if the Bleeding Cave can be found yet. There is no clue yet, but our Ghost King sect has suffered heavy losses. Xiao Fan said, before entering the Dead Abyss. Perhaps you should be mentally prepared for this, but you should be fine. Bai Yao was slightly happy when she heard this. Really? That's great. In fact, among the people who followed Bai Yao to the Dead Abyss, the only one Bai Yao really cared about was Yu Ji. When she heard from Xiao Fan that Yu Ji was fine, she immediately put down her worries. Xiao Fan did not answer this question, but said casually, I'm going to continue looking for the Bleeding Cave. What are your plans? Bai Yao pondered for a moment and said, can I go with you? After encountering the terrifying Black Water Mystic Snake, Bai Yao was a little afraid to go alone in the Dead Abyss. Xiao Fan was very powerful and could easily kill the Black Water Mystic Snake. Following him, Bai Yao felt much more at ease. Most importantly, Xiao Fan had just saved her when she was facing the crisis of death, which also left a mark in Bai Yao's heart. Xiao Fan smiled and said, you can follow me, but if you find the Dripping Blood Cave and the treasures in it, you'd better not compete with me for it. Bai Yao said helplessly, even if I want to compete with you, I don't have the strength. I'm not stupid enough to seek death. Then let's go. Xiao Fan nodded slightly and agreed to Bai Yao's request. Immediately, Xiao Fan took Bai Yao and continued to search for the Dripping Blood Cave. Xiao Fan explored upwards from the place where Zhang Zifan fell, and soon found a cave, and immediately flew towards the location of the cave. Bai Yao blinked when she saw this, and quickly followed. Soon, Xiao Fan and Bai Yao entered a cave one after the other. The cave was located halfway up the cliff, exactly where the tree that had held Zhang Zifan for a while was. The cave was very damp, with the top of the cave about 2 people high, but only 3 feet wide on both sides, very narrow, and the sides of the cave were all cold and hard stones, looking exactly the same as those on the cliff. There seemed to be something glowing in the cave, one by one, scattered throughout the cave. Although there were not many, it made the cave look a little brighter, not too dark. A few steps forward in the cave, there was a corner, but the situation behind the corner could not be seen for a while. Xiao Fan was skilled and bold, and he went straight to the depths of the cave behind the corner. Mr. Zhao, do you think this is the Dripping Blood Cave? Bai Yao asked with a smile when she saw this, and followed Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan smiled and said, who knows? But I think the possibility is not small. As the two were talking, they turned a corner again and reached the end of the cave. At the end of the cave, a water curtain hung down from the top of the cave, splashing water in all directions, crystal clear and beautiful, and finally falling into a small pool, which was quite a sight. Behind the waterfall was a hard stone wall like the surrounding walls. The small pool below the waterfall was clear to the bottom, but it was impossible to see where the water was flowing out. There were several red spots on the stone wall on the top of the cave, and the water droplets flowing over them were all reflected like blood. Xiao Fan, we got close to the small water curtain and soon found 7 red stones half the size of a palm on the stone wall on the top of the cave. The texture of the 7 stones was the same as that of the stones on the stone wall next to them, only the color was different. The 7 red stones were crookedly embedded in the top of the cave, looking like a strange spoon. When the crystal water droplets of the small water curtain dripped in front of the red stone, they were reflected in red, like drops of blood. Is this really the bleeding cave? When Bai Yao saw Xiao Fan approaching the water curtain to look at the red stones, she also approached to check it out. Seeing this unique scene, her eyes widened and she exclaimed. Xiao Fan nodded slightly. It seems that I have found the right place. This is the bleeding cave. Bai Yao was a little surprised at first, and then a bitter smile appeared on her face. I really didn't expect that the black-hearted old ghost actually built the bleeding cave in such a ghost place. No wonder the Ghost King sect has been looking for it dozens of times in the past 800 years and couldn't find it. Now it has been found, but it's a pity that it has no chance with the Ghost King sect. Thinking of Xiao Fan's powerful strength, Bai Yao lost her temper and had no intention of competing with Xiao Fan for the treasures in the bleeding cave. She just hoped that Xiao Fan could not find the treasures in the bleeding cave, which would be the best. Chapter 280, Cracking the Mechanism. The heavenly book appears. Xiao Fan ignored Bai Yao's changing thoughts, but approached the clear little pool, leaned down slightly, and observed the reflection in the water. Xiao Fan vaguely remembered that in the original book, Bai Yao found the mechanism to open the dripping blood cave based on the shadows of the 7 red stones reflected in the water under Zhang Zifan's reminder. Soon, Xiao Fan found the 7 red stones and their reflections in the water as he wished. Because of the reflection, the arrangement of the 7 red stones at this moment is no longer a strange spoon shape, but a bit like a person's palm. Xiao Fan slowly stretched out his hand, through the gentle waves, and explored the position of the reflection of the 7 red stones at the bottom of the water. The pool was very shallow, and Xiao Fan's hand soon touched the bottom of the pool. There was a thin layer of sand and stones on the bottom of the water. Xiao Fan gently flicked his hand and pushed the sand at the bottom of the water to one side. Suddenly, the position where the 7 red stones were reflected showed 7 inconspicuous small stones. Xiao Fan stretched out both hands and pressed the 7 small stones down at the same time. Bai Yao watched Xiao Fan's actions from the side, with a look of surprise in her eyes, and she also felt a little nervous inexplicably. Mr. Zhao, it seems that the 7 small stones are not the mechanism to open the dripping blood cave. After a while, Bai Yao saw that there was no movement in the cave, and couldn't help but smile and said to Xiao Fan. At this moment, Bai Yao felt both relieved and regretful. Xiao Fan chuckled and teased, "That's not necessarily true. Young people shouldn't be too impatient." Bai Yao pouted when she heard this. "Mr. Zhao, you are not much older than me." Xiao Fan smiled and said nothing more, quietly waiting for the dripping blood cave to open. Seeing this, Bai Yao's eyes flashed, and she didn't say anything more, but carefully looked around and searched in the cave. After a quarter of an hour, a harsh but heavy click sound suddenly rang in the cave. "It's really opened!" Bai Yao couldn't help but exclaimed when she saw this scene, and looked in the direction of the sound with Xiao Fan. Behind the water curtain, the stone wall that was once seamless and extremely hard actually retreated in one piece. Although it was slow, it finally revealed a new hole. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Let's go in and see what treasures are in this blood-dripping cave that is said to be so magical." After that, Xiao Fan walked directly through the small water curtain and walked into the new hole. Bai Yao blinked and hurriedly followed. This is a deep tunnel. The glowing objects on the stone wall on the side of the cave are obviously much less than those on the outside passage. Although the road can still be seen, it is very dim. The two walked forward all the way. The road was very peaceful and there was no danger. I don't know how long it took, but the two finally reached the end of the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, there is a stone chamber that is many times larger in area. The whole stone chamber is circular in shape. The tunnel is in the middle of the stone chamber, and opposite it, there is actually a passage extending inward. On the left side of the stone chamber, there were 2 huge stone statues. One had kind eyes and stood with a smile. Its clothes were carved to look lifelike as if they were blown by the wind. It looked a bit like the Guanyin Bodhisattva of Buddhism. The other one was completely different. It was ferocious and fierce, with a black face and ghost horns, 8 hands and 4 heads, and even a trace of blood flowing from its mouth, which made people shudder. In front of the 2 statues, there was an incense burner, and next to it were several packs of incense and candles, but they were all covered with dust. When Bai Yao saw the 2 statues, her expression became a little serious, and then she knelt down respectfully and saluted, and lit a stick of incense for them. Xiao Fan watched Bai Yao finish the ceremony and chuckled, "Perhaps your holy church will flourish and grow in your hands." Bai Yao smiled and said, "Thank you, young master, for your kind words." Xiao Fan nodded and said casually, "There doesn't seem to be anything special here. Let's go on and see what secrets are deep in this cave." Bai Yao naturally had no objection to this. Immediately, the 2 continued to go deeper into the cave. This time, they didn't go far before they entered another spacious place, but this place seemed to be in a natural state, without any human carving or decoration. There were all kinds of stalactites in the cave, and the colors were also colorful. In front of the 2, there was a huge monument at the entrance of the cave, on which 10 large characters were engraved in a flamboyant manner: "Heaven and earth are not benevolent, and treat all things as straw dogs." Behind the monument, there were stalactites of strange shapes everywhere. The 2 walked around the stone forest for a while and saw a skeleton sitting on a smooth bluestone platform. It was the remains of the black-hearted old ghost from 800 years ago. The 2 did not stay for too long and continued to go deeper into the cave. In one of the caves, they found the Heihun bell. On the stone wall of another cave, there were densely engraved words. At the beginning of the whole text, there were 2 big characters: "Heavenly Book." "Heavenly Book, this is the Heavenly Book." Bai Yao couldn't help but cheer. Xiao Fan had expected it, but he seemed very calm, just silently watching the Heavenly Book words engraved on the stone wall. With Xiao Fan's soul strength, it was naturally not difficult to watch these words, and he soon memorized them all in his heart and silently comprehended them. Under the effect of his heaven-defined comprehension, Xiao Fan soon understood the Heavenly Book thoroughly, but he was unable to deduce the contents of the other volumes of the Heavenly Book. It seems that this Heavenly Book is indeed somewhat extraordinary. Xiao Fan sighed slightly in his heart, but he was not too disappointed about it. Bai Yao saw the Heavenly Book engraved on the stone wall and subconsciously read it. After reading only a few sentences, she felt a little dizzy and frowned. Xiao Fan smiled. "Some things can't be forced. It seems that you are not destined to have this Heavenly Book. Don't think about it. My purpose of this trip has been achieved. There is nothing worth staying in this blood-dropping cave. Let's go. We are out." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and a lightning sword appeared in his right hand, and suddenly slashed at the stone wall engraved with the Heavenly Book. Boom! In an instant, the stone wall was destroyed by Xiao Fan's lightning sword, and all the words on it were erased. "Ah, Master Xiao, why did you destroy the Heavenly Book?" Bai Yao couldn't help but exclaimed when she saw Xiao Fan destroy the Heavenly Book. Xiao Fan shrugged slightly. "I have already noted it down. For me, this Heavenly Book is naturally useless. As for others, forget it." Bai Yao blinked and said, "Mr. Xiao, you are very similar to the people of our holy church in your style of doing things. Let's go. It's time to go out. After I take you out, I will go back." Xiao Fan smiled and did not continue the conversation. He went straight out of the dripping blood cave. Seeing this, Bai Yao hesitated for a moment and hurriedly followed Xiao Fan. Chapter 281 New Sign-In, Return to the Dqi World. Xiao Fan took Bai Yao and quickly left the bleeding cave, and then went directly out of the ancient cave of 10,000 bats. "Miss Bai Yao, we'll see you next time." After bringing Bai Yao to a safe area, Xiao Fan smiled and said goodbye to Bai Yao. Bai Yao smiled and invited, "Mr. Xiao, why don't you come to our holy church for a few days, and then come back?" Xiao Fan heard this, hesitated for a moment, and chose to agree. "Okay, then I'll bother you." Bai Yao smiled and said, "How could that be? Mr. Xiao is willing to go to the holy church. I can't wait to be happy." Originally, Bai Yao was a little worried that Xiao Fan was like those righteous people in the Zhuzian world, and was very repulsive to their holy church. When she heard that Xiao Fan agreed to go to the holy church as a guest, Her good impression of Xiao Fan suddenly became stronger. Next, Xiao Fan and Bai Yao went to the Ghost King sect's residence. While rushing on the road, Xiao Fan suddenly remembered that he had not signed in yet when he came to the Zhujian world this time, so he gave the system a sign-in instruction in his heart. Ding! Sign-in successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a Tanglong pill. Note: after taking it, you can increase your cultivation. Increase your cultivation? I like this pill. Hearing the content of the system reward, Xiao Fan was immediately delighted. Among the various sign-in rewards, Xiao Fan's favorite is the reward that directly increases your cultivation. However, he was not in a hurry to take it to improve his cultivation. Let's wait until we return to the Qi continent. Thinking in his heart, Xiao Fan temporarily restrained his mind and continued to travel with Bai Yao. While the two were on the road, they suddenly met a middle-aged man who looked like a scholar. The man had thin eyebrows and a square face. His eyebrows looked elegant, but his eyes were bright and his forehead was full. However, in this elegance, he had a powerful aura without anger. He wore a Confucian robe and a light purple jade pendant on his waist. It was exquisite and translucent, with a faint auspicious aura. It was obvious that it was not an ordinary item. "Dad, why are you here?" Bai Yao asked in surprise when she saw the man coming. It turned out that this man was the leader of the Ghost King sect and Bai Yao's biological father, the Ghost King. The Ghost King said calmly, "I heard that something happened in the Dead Abyss, so I came to see who this young man next to you is." Although Xiao Fan did not show the aura of a strong man, the Ghost King could sense an extreme danger in Xiao Fan. Bai Yao said, "This is Master Xiao, a friend of mine. This time in the Dead Abyss, I was attacked by the Blackwater Mystic Snake. Fortunately, Master Xiao saved me." The Ghost King looked at Xiao Fan and said, "I wonder where Master Xiao came from?" Xiao Fan said calmly, "No sect or school. The Ghost King doesn't have to worry that I am approaching Miss Bai Yao on purpose. I just have something to do in the Dead Abyss." The Ghost King smiled and said, "Master Xiao is overthinking. I don't mean that. I'm just a little curious about where such a talent like Master Xiao can be cultivated." Bai Yao said, "Dad, don't go into the details. I was just about to invite Master Xiao to visit the Holy Church." The Ghost King's eyes flashed when he heard this. "Master Xiao saved my daughter and is willing to visit the Holy Church. I welcome him. Please." After that, the Ghost King gestured to Xiao Fan. "Please, Ghost King." Xiao Fan nodded in response, and left without being polite. After a few days of traveling, the three of them soon arrived at the Ghost King sect. Xiao Fan stayed in the Ghost King sect for a few days, then said goodbye to Bai Yao and the Ghost King, and returned to the Qi world directly through the Wanji chat group. After returning to the Qi world, Xiao Fan did not rush to show up, but chose to enter the Yuanqi Tower, then took out the Tanglong pill and swallowed it. The pill melted in his mouth, and in an instant, a pure energy poured into Xiao Fan's body. Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he activated the Thunder Emperor Ju to refine and absorb the medicinal power of the Tanglong pill. As the medicinal power of the Tanglong pill was refined and absorbed by Xiao Fan, his aura gradually strengthened. After an unknown amount of time, Xiao Fan felt that he had broken through a bottleneck in his body again, and his cultivation realm also broke through from the one-starred emperor to the two-starred emperor realm. At this time, the medicinal power of the Tanglong pill had been completely refined and absorbed by him. Xiao Fan immediately stopped practicing and slowly opened his eyes. Hua-la-la! When the ancient body tree saw Xiao Fan finish his training, its branches trembled slightly, as if to congratulate Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan smiled and stroked the branches of the ancient body tree, and said with a smile, "Thank you, brother body, for protecting me again." After chatting with the ancient body tree for a while, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he left the Yuanqi Tower and returned to his room in the Xiao family in Yun City. Xiao Fan just appeared in the room, but he saw two familiar figures in the room, Ziyan and King Lin. "Brother Xiao Fan, where have you been? You just came back after several days. Didn't you say you would take me to Cheng ruins to help me find the Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit?" Seeing Xiao Fan appear, Ziyan pouted and said coquettishly. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "I just practiced in seclusion for a while, and didn't go anywhere. If you are anxious, Then I will tell my father and then go to the Cheng ruins. Zhi Yan was very happy when she heard what Xiao Fan said. Thank you, brother Xiao Fan. After that, Zhi Yan rushed to Xiao Fan, hugged Xiao Fan's neck, and kissed Xiao Fan on the cheek. Your saliva is all over my face. Xiao Fan stretched out his hand and rubbed Zhi Yan's head, teasing. Zhi Yan frowned and said, "Huh, you have saliva." King Lin watched Zhi Yan and Xiao Fan laughing and joking, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Ding! Trigger the sign-in task. Please go to the Cheng ruins to sign in. The sign-in reward is unknown. At this moment, the familiar voice of the system suddenly sounded in Xiao Fan's mind. This is a pleasant surprise. Hearing the prompt sound of the system, Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly and thought secretly in his heart. Xiao Fan had been planning to search for treasures in the Cheng ruins, and now that the sign-in task has been triggered, isn't that a double reward? Xiao Fan chatted with Zhi Yan and King Lin for a few words, and then went to find Xiao Zhan and said goodbye to him. When Xiao Zhan heard that Xiao Fan was leaving again, he couldn't help but say, "Fanner, you've just come back not long ago, and you're going out again. You are now a strong man, and you can be said to be the #1 person in the Qi continent. There is no need to rush out to find any opportunities, right?" Xiao Fan shrugged. "It's boring to stay at home every day, and the opportunities I'm looking for this time are mainly for Zhi Yan and Yanzi." "Well, what does it have to do with Yanzi? Speaking of which, Yanzi has been away from home for quite a long time, and I don't know when he will come back." Xiao Zhan was a little surprised to hear what Xiao Fan said. Xiao Fan immediately told Xiao Zhan about the Cheng ruins. After Xiao Zhan learned about the Cheng ruins, he stopped trying to stop them. He gave Xiao Fan a few more instructions before letting him leave. Xiao Fan then said goodbye to Xiao Zhan, and took Zhi Yan and King Lin back to Zhongzhou. Chapter 282 Yao Chen falls into the trap. Zhi Yan takes the initiative. Xiao Fan went to Zhongzhou, but he planned to call Xiao Yan first, and then go to the ancient Cheng ruins. In addition to the dragon and phoenix origin fruit and other heavenly and earthly treasures in the ancient ruins, there is another treasure, that is, the remains of the Cheng. Xiao Fan plans to use the remains of the Cheng to revive Yao Chen. In the original work, because of the competition among the people, Xiao Yan only got an arm bone, and Yao Chen broke through to the semi-saint realm with the help of that arm bone. If Yao Chen used the complete remains of the Cheng, he would surely be able to break through to the Cheng realm directly. In addition, the soul cultivation method given by Xiao Fan will definitely make Yao Chen's medicine refining ability go further. At that time, it would be good to let him serve as a pharmacist for the Zhao clan. When Xiao Fan was in the Ghost Mountain range before, he signed in to obtain the soul traction technique. When he parted with Xiao Yan, he left a soul mark on Xiao Yan's body. Therefore, after Xiao Fan arrived in Zhongzhou, he directly used the soul traction technique and easily found Xiao Yan's whereabouts. He immediately tore the space and appeared in front of Xiao Yan and Yao Chen. Qi continent, Zhongzhou, Xinian Pavilion. In a training room, Xiao Yan was in seclusion to adjust to his skyrocketing cultivation. Yao Chen, in spirit form, was guarding him. Sensing the increasingly solid aura on Xiao Yan's body, Yao Chen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Originally, he didn't have much hope for his resurrection, but what he never expected was that Xiao Yan's growth rate was so fast that he reached the realm of 9-star Sun so early. However, this was not the end. Xiao Yan's third brother Xiao Fan was even more exaggerated. He directly broke through the highest level of the current Qi continent and became a Daodi powerhouse that had not been seen in 10,000 years. Xiao Yan, because of his Daodi bloodline, also had his cultivation level soar to the realm of 5-star Cheng. With Xiao Yan's current cultivation strength, plus the alchemy technique he taught him, it would be no longer difficult to resurrect him. Buzz. Yao Chen was thinking about it, and suddenly sensed a space fluctuation in the training room. Before Yao Chen could react, a space passage suddenly appeared in the training room, and a young man in a green shirt stepped out of the space passage. Two beautiful girls followed the young man. There was no doubt that they were Xiao Fan, Zhi Yan, and King Lin. Yao Chen was relieved when he saw that it was Xiao Fan and the other two who came. "Oh, young master, you are here." Originally, Yao Chen wanted to call Xiao Fan young friend as usual, but thinking that Xiao Fan had broken through to the D realm, he restrained himself a little. Xiao Fan nodded slightly. "Mr. Yao, I haven't seen you for a while, third brother. Did you come to see me specifically? At this time, Xiao Yan, who was in meditation, also opened his eyes, saw Xiao Fan's figure, and immediately smiled and greeted him. Xiao Fan said, to be precise, I came to you and Mr. Yao at the same time. Yao Chen was slightly startled when he heard this. I wonder what Mr. Zhao wants to talk to me about? Xiao Fan said, I learned that there's a skeleton mountain in the beast domain, and in that skeleton mountain there is an ancient Sheng relic. Other things are fine, but the Sheng remains can just happen to be for you to use. I will use the Sheng remains to revive you. I believe that after you are resurrected, your strength will far exceed before. Xiao Yan was delighted when he heard what Xiao Fan said. Really? That's great. Yao Chen said, Mr. Zhao should want to tell me more than just this, right? Xiao Fan smiled slightly. Mr. Yao is indeed a discerning person. I won't beat around the bush. I want to ask Mr. Yao to be the Zhao clan's worshipper and refine some high-level elixirs for the Zhao clan, and also train a group of Zhao clan's alchemists. As a reward, I can not only revive you using the Sheng remains, but also guarantee to help you break through the Emperor realm in the future. Yao Chen's heart couldn't help but beat violently when he heard Xiao Fan's words, especially the last sentence. After a while, Yao Chen suppressed his restlessness and said in a deep voice, Young Master Zhao, are you sure you can help me break through the D realm? Xiao Fan smiled faintly. To break through the D, 3 conditions must be met. The soul strength reaches the Emperor realm, the Qi cultivation reaches the peak of the 9-starred Sheng, and the most important is the source energy. The source energy here is inexhaustible. You and Jianzi have also seen it. As for the soul cultivation method, I also have a method that can break through the Emperor realm. As for the improvement of Qi cultivation, as long as there are resources and time, this is not a problem. So, do you think it is difficult to break through the D? Young Master Zhao is really generous. If I refuse such a generous offer, it would be a bit ungrateful. Yao Chen heard the words, thought about it for a while, and agreed on the spot. Xiao Fan smiled and said, Mr. Yao made a wise decision. Let's go. We will go directly to the Skeleton Mountain range. Yao Chen said, please wait a moment, Mr. Zhao. Yan and I need to explain to the people from Xinyan Pavilion. Xiao Fan nodded slightly. Okay, I'll wait for you. Third brother, I'll go say goodbye to the people from Xinyan Pavilion first. Yan also said to Xiao Fan, and then went to find the top leaders of Xinyan Pavilion with Yao Chen. After Yao Chen and Yan left, Ziyan blinked and looked at Xiao Fan. Brother Xiao Fan, can you really help that old man become a D? Xiao Fan nodded and said, of course. How could I make up a lie to deceive people? Ziyan's eyes lit up when she heard that, and she moved closer to Xiao Fan, stretched out her hand to hold Xiao Fan's arm and shook it. Brother Xiao Fan, see if you can also help me break through to the D. I can also join the Zhao clan and be a worshipper elder or something. Xiao Fan smiled and said, do you know your own life experience? Ziyan shook her head slightly. I don't know yet. What does it matter? Xiao Fan said, you are the daughter of the Dragon Emperor of the Taixu ancient dragon clan, the overlord of warcraft. If nothing unexpected happens, you will be the next Dragon Emperor. Are you willing to join the Zhao clan as an elder? Ziyan said nonchalantly, what's so good about being a Dragon Emperor? I'm not interested in it. However, according to what you said, my father should be the Dragon Emperor now. Why did he abandon me? He is so heartless. Xiao Fan shook his head and said, it's not that your father has no conscience, but he is trapped and can't get out. Ziyan asked curiously, if my father is the Dragon Emperor of the Taixu ancient dragon clan, the overlord of warcraft, he should be very powerful. Who could trap him? Xiao Fan smiled and said, the person who trapped your father is Chuash ancient emperor. Now your father is guarding the gate of Chuash ancient emperor's cave. What? Chuash ancient emperor's cave? Young Master Zhao, do you know where Chuash ancient emperor's cave is? At this moment, Yao Chen and Jian came back and heard what Xiao Fan said. They couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Chapter 283 forcefully opened the ancient ruins. Xiao Fan nodded and said, I know. In fact, the Chuash ancient emperor cave is deep in the Magna world below the Tanfan refining Qi tower of Canaan College. I found it last time when I subdued the fallen heart flame. The latter half of the sentence was an excuse Xiao Fan made up casually, and this excuse seemed reasonable. Yao Chen was surprised to hear this and said, "It's true." Who would have thought that the location of the Chuash ancient emperor cave would be below Canaan College? Zhu Yan said at this time, "Brother Xiao Fan, can you help my father get out of the Chuash ancient emperor cave?" Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Don't worry about this matter. Your father has been trapped there for many years. There is no rush. Anyway, there is no danger. Let's go according to the original plan and go to the Cheng ruins and the Skeleton Mountain Range to find the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit for you, and ask Mr. Yao to find the Cheng remains." Okay then. Zhu Yan heard Xiao Fan say that the Dragon Emperor was not in danger, and immediately agreed with Xiao Fan's opinion without hesitation. King Lin always obeyed Xiao Fan. Yao Chen and Xiao Yan had no objection to this. So, the group decided happily. Xiao Fan immediately tore the space and opened a temporary space channel, leading everyone to the Beast Domain. After arriving at the Beast Domain, Xiao Fan and his group flew directly to the Skeleton Mountain Range. However, it was Xiao Fan who used his powerful qi cultivation to fly with several people, shortening the travel time. The Skeleton Mountain Range is located in the southwest of the Beast Domain. When Xiao Fan and his group flew to the southwest, they met many people along the way who were also heading towards the Skeleton Mountain Range. In addition to humans, there were also some magical beasts that transformed into humans, mixed in with them. I didn't expect that there were so many other people heading to the Skeleton Mountain Range. Are they also heading for the Cheng ruins? Seeing this scene, Xiao Yan couldn't help but frown slightly. Xiao Fan smiled faintly and said, "The ancient Cheng ruins have always been there, but there is no specific opening time. It is normal that people keep rushing there. However, since we are here this time, others should not think about the things in the ancient Cheng ruins." Zhu Yan said excitedly, "That's right. If anyone dares to snatch the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit from me, I will beat him to pieces with one punch." While speaking, Zhu Yan also symbolically waved her fist. Seeing this, Xiao Fan and King Lin couldn't help but chuckle. The Skeleton Mountain Range is below. Not long after, when the group flew to a mountain range full of white skeletons, Yao Chen's soul body floated out and said to Xiao Fan and the others. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "In this case, let's go down." After that, Xiao Fan led the group to land on the white mountain range below. Although there are many figures in the Skeleton Mountain Range today, it seems much quieter than the bustling appearance in the original book. Obviously, because it is not the time for the Cheng ruins to open, some forces have not taken action. After landing at the Skeleton Mountain Range, Xiao Fan released his powerful soul power and began to sense the surroundings. Soon, Xiao Fan discovered that there was a twisted arc in a certain space, where a solid space seal seemed to be laid. After discovering the space seal, Xiao Fan did not delay anything, and stretched out his right hand in front of him and gently moved it. As Xiao Fan's right hand gently moved, the surrounding space suddenly fluctuated, forming a certain frequency, and rushed towards the seal laid by the ancient Cheng. Hoo-la-la! The violent distortion of the space made a sound like a rushing water flow, and as this sound spread, the fluctuation of the space became more and more intense. Pa-pa! Suddenly, the twisted space suddenly condensed, and then it shattered into countless tiny space fragments like glass. The space seal laid by the ancient Cheng was easily broken by Xiao Fan. The people who had been wandering around the entrance of the Cheng ruins were startled when they saw the ancient ruins suddenly shattered, and then they suddenly burst into an uproar. The space seal is broken. What happened? How could the seal be broken in advance? The ancient Cheng ruins have been opened in advance. Quick, pass the news back. Just now I saw that young man seemed to do something to the Cheng ruins. Did he open the Cheng ruins? How is it possible? The seal left by the ancient Cheng. How can ordinary people break it? Among these people, some are independent cultivators, and some are pathfinders sent by certain forces. At this moment, they have different actions. Xiao Fan ignored everyone's thoughts, broke the space seal casually, and said to the people beside him, "Let's go to the Cheng ruins to take a look." After that, Xiao Fan flew to the Bone Sea where the space was distorted. Zhu Yan and King Lin naturally followed Xiao Fan without hesitation. The Bone Sea is extremely vast. At this moment, a huge silhouette as majestic as a mountain appeared in the Bone Sea. From a distance, It looked like an ancient beast crawling in the bone sea. If it were an ordinary person, they would probably be directly shocked by the fierce aura, but it did not have much effect on Xiao Fan and his companions. When they approached, they found that the huge outline that looked like an ancient beast was actually a majestic and grand palace. The palace was nearly 1,000 feet in size and was red all over. From a distance, it looked like a kind of flame rising, which was particularly dazzling in this sea of white bones. In the middle of the palace, there was a red stone door that weighed as much as 10,000 pounds. Space cutting. Xiao Fan frowned when he saw the red stone door blocking the way. He shouted in his heart and waved his right hand casually. There was an invisible sharp blade that slashed at the heavy red stone door. Boom! Under the effect of the space blade, the heavy red stone door was quickly chopped into stone slag and scattered everywhere. Xiao Fan waved his hand and swept the garbage to the side, revealing a dark passage behind the red stone door. Hiss! So strong, many people had come to the outside of the hall. Seeing Xiao Fan's actions, they could not help but take a breath of cold air. Their eyes were full of awe when they looked at Xiao Fan. Originally, they wanted to rush into the passage behind the stone door, but now they dared not act rashly, for fear of angering Xiao Fan, a terrifying strong man who did not know the details. Let's go, you come with me. There is still something in this hall, Xiao Fan said to Zhu Yan, King Lin and Xiao Yan beside him after breaking through the stone door. After that, Xiao Fan directly cast a space barrier to cover the few people, and then walked towards the passage behind the red stone door. Xiao Fan and his party had just entered the passage, but the dark passage suddenly turned red, the hard floor slowly cracked, and the red-hot magma gushed out. At the same time, the four walls of the spacious passage also spurted out a series of enchanting blue fire pillars, wrapping Xiao Fan and his party in it. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284 Earth Demon Puppet. Zhu Yan's ability. The red magma and blue flames that looked very scary did not cause any fluctuations to the space barrier set up by Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan and his party were not damaged at all under the protection of the space barrier. Xiao Fan led Zhu Yan, King Lin and Xiao Yan and walked along the flame channel for a while before saying, "This fire channel is not the real channel to enter the ruins. The real channel to enter the ruins is under this magma. Next, we will follow the magma into the underground passage." That ancient Sheng is really good at playing tricks on people. He actually set the road to the ruins in the magma. Xiao Yan's eyes flashed slightly when he heard Xiao Fan's words, and he seemed a little surprised. "Let's go." Xiao Fan said nothing more, called a few people, and took them to dive deep into the magma. Although the magma was hot, it was not a hindrance to the people who were protected by the space barrier. Therefore, after this kind of diving lasted for about a minute, everyone heard a subtle muffled sound, and then they slid down a distance, and finally their feet stood on the cold floor again. After landing, everyone subconsciously looked up. They saw that above their heads, the red magma was like a complete giant python, hanging in a ring shape, twisting and turning above. Indistinctly, they could see the occasional figure passing by on the fire path. Those fiery red rings were the fire paths above. If the other people who broke into the fire path, after going through many difficulties and reaching the end of the fire path, found that there was only a stone wall there, would they be angry to death on the spot? Xiao Yan looked at the winding fire path and couldn't help but gloating. At this moment, in the fire path above the magma pool, there were many practitioners from various forces, walking through it. They naturally didn't know that Xiao Yan and others were preparing to laugh at them below the magma. Xiao Fan smiled and said casually, "We don't need to care about the others. Let's go to the depths of the ruins." After that, Xiao Fan went forward first. Seeing this, Xiao Yan, Zhu Yan and King Lin hurriedly followed. In front of them was a rather spacious boulder passage. The passage extended to the distance, and a square could be seen faintly. Not long after, Xiao Fan and his party arrived at the square. Because Xiao Fan had broken through the Sheng ruins in advance, those people from the big forces had not yet arrived. As for some casual cultivators, They did not know the real passage to enter the ruins, so now there were only 4 people including Xiao Fan in the square. After arriving at the square, several people looked around casually and saw that at the end of the square, there was an extremely heavy stone door. In front of the stone door, 10 bodies as straight as guns stood there unchanged for thousands of years. The skin of these bodies was bright silver, their eyes were empty, and their faces were expressionless, just like ancient corpses. "Is this Earth Demon puppet?" Xiao Yan couldn't help but exclaim in surprise when he saw the 10 bodies that were as straight as guns. Xiao Fan nodded slightly. "Yes, these Earth Demon puppet have Zong level strength. If we subdue them and hand them over to the family, they can be of some use." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Fan directly activated the power of his soul and scanned the 10 Earth Demon puppet. Normally, the body of an Earth Demon puppet should have the soul mark of the creator. However, there was no soul mark in the body of these 10 Earth Demon puppet. Xiao Fan left his own soul mark without any effort and subdued them all. Although these 10 Zong level Earth Demon puppet were of no use to him, they were still useful to the newly rising Zhao clan. Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly put the 10 Earth Demon puppet into the storage ring. For the time being, he didn't need them. Just after Xiao Fan put the 10 Earth Demon puppet into the storage ring, a creaking mechanism sound suddenly rang out on the square. It was the huge hall that was guarded by the 10 Earth Demon puppets that slowly opened. When the stone door was completely opened, Xiao Fan led Xiao Yan and the others to rush in behind the stone door. After they rushed into the stone door, they found that they had entered a huge hall. People standing in the hall seemed particularly small. Everyone looked around and found that there were many very deep corridors around the hall, and no one knew where they extended to. "There are so many passages, and we don't know how long they are. How can we find the Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit and the Cheng remains?" Seeing this scene, Xiao Yan couldn't help but frown and asked. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Ziyan is good at ordinary spiritual medicines, so let Ziyan lead the way and find the Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit first. As for the Cheng remains, it should be in the center of the Cheng ruins, so there is no need to be too anxious." Ziyan heard what Xiao Fan said, and immediately said proudly, "It's my turn to show off now, right?" After that, Ziyan's upturned nose twitched, exploring the smell of medicinal materials. "Follow me, this way." After a while, Ziyan's eyes lit up, and she said to Xiao Fan and the other 2, and flew directly in one direction. "Let's follow them too." Xiao Fan smiled, and followed Ziyan with King Lin and Xiao Yan. The passage of the huge palace was very spacious, and the few people flew through it like a few birds. On both sides of these passages, there were occasionally some attics, and Xiao Fan and his friends also searched those attics. However, there was nothing good in most of the attics, and the harvest was pitiful. After the group flew along the passage to the inside for more than 10 minutes, Ziyan, who was in the front, finally stopped. Seeing Ziyan stop, Xiao Fan and his friends also stopped, and at the same time cast their eyes in front of Ziyan. There was an extremely old stone door, on which there were many mosses climbing, and the green color made people feel the passing years. "The smell of medicinal herbs is the strongest here. I guess it must be where the herbs are stored. I wonder if they have gone bad after so many years." Ziyan pointed at the stone door. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Open the stone door and you will know." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Fan stepped forward and pushed the stone door open with a little force. The moment the stone door opened, a dazzling and brilliant light burst out from it, causing Xiao Yan, Ziyan and King Lin to narrow their eyes slightly and quickly step back 2 steps. The fighting spirit in their bodies also started to work quickly at this moment, ready to take action at any time to deal with any emergency. Xiao Fan was as steady as a mountain. "Don't worry, there is no danger." After a while, the brilliant light weakened. Xiao Yan, Ziyan and King Lin opened their eyes again. When they saw the scene behind the stone door clearly, they all couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. Chapter 285. After a crazy search, the Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit was finally found. Behind the stone door, it was not a stone chamber as Xiao Yan and his friends had guessed, but a forest. An ancient forest made up entirely of various rare medicinal herbs. King Lin was shocked and said, "There are too many medicinal herbs." Ziyan was even more excited. Her eyes glowed green. "Wow, This is a good place. After shouting excitedly, Zhi Yan directly pounced into a dense group of Ganoderma lucidum, grabbed a handful and stuffed it into her mouth. The medicinal herbs here have grown for countless years, and their energy is extremely rich. For Zhi Yan, it is a great tonic. Although it has not been refined by Xiao Fan using the automatic alchemy furnace, the taste is slightly worse, but the abundant energy can make Zhi Yan cover up the taste. Yan on the side was also greatly shocked. As a pharmacist, he was obviously very jealous of these precious medicinal herbs. Xiao Fan looked at the appearance of several people, especially Zhi Yan's exaggerated movements, and couldn't help but smile. Don't worry, collect these herbs first, and refine them into pills when you go back, and then enjoy them slowly. Yan said, but there are so many herbs, I don't know how long it will take to collect them all. I'm afraid that other people will soon break into this ruins. Xiao Fan smiled faintly, don't worry, it won't take much time, and even if other people break into the ruins and want to compete with us for the Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit and the Cheng remains, they must have the strength to do so. After a pause, Xiao Fan said to Yan, Zhi Yan and King Lin, you step back a little. Although they didn't understand what Xiao Fan was going to do, the three of them still took a step back as he said. Xiao Fan's hands changed slightly, and he seemed to randomly draw a few times in the space in front of him. The next moment, Yan and the other two sensed that there was a violent space fluctuation not far ahead. Then, within their sight, a large ancient forest made up of various medicinal herbs suddenly disappeared from their sight. Where the medicinal herbs were originally, there were terrifying spatial turbulences, but not long after, the space returned to stability. However, those medicinal herbs never appeared again. Seeing this scene, Yan and the other two were shocked. Brother Xiao Fan, where did those medicinal herbs go? After being shocked, Zhi Yan couldn't help but ask Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan smiled and said, I directly used space cutting to cut the space where the medicinal herbs were located, and then moved it to the small world I opened up and merged with it. In other words, those medicinal herbs are now all collected in my small world. Yao Chen's soul body couldn't help but float out of the bone inflammation ring at this time, and said in shock, young Master Xiao's methods are really amazing. Xiao Fan smiled and didn't say much. Next, the group continued to move forward, and Xiao Fan did the same thing, constantly collecting a large ancient forest made up of precious medicinal herbs. The seemingly boundless ancient forest was soon completely plundered by Xiao Fan. Even some of the magical beasts hidden in the ancient forest were passively entered Xiao Fan's small world. Despite this, the group did not find any traces of the Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit and the remains of the Cheng. I feel that something seems to be calling me, Zhi Yan suddenly said with a slightly dazed look and a little hesitation. Xiao Fan asked, what direction? There, Zhi Yan pointed, which was the direction leading to the center of the ruins. Xiao Fan smiled and said, now that the medicinal materials have been collected, since you feel the call, let's speed up and take a look. Well, Zhi Yan heard the words and nodded slightly. Yan and King Lin naturally had no objection to this. Immediately, the group sped up and rushed towards the center of the ruins. Not long after, the group came to a flat green grassland. On the surface, there seemed to be nothing unusual there, but when Zhi Yan reached out her hand to explore a certain void space, a golden light appeared out of thin air in the sight of several people. This golden light was in the shape of an inverted bowl, with a round bottom and a round top, covering an area of about 10 feet. Before Zhi Yan touched it, it did not reveal anything. King Lin asked curiously, what is this golden light shield? This is a beast spirit shield. Only a powerful demon beast can condense this kind of beast spirit shield when it is dying. Zhi Yan gently rubbed the light shield with her small hand, with a faint sadness on her small face. No. Zhi Yan stroked the light shield. Her face suddenly changed, and she said, this beast spirit shield not only has the flavor of the ancient Xiaoxiao dragon, but also seems to have a little flavor of the Tianyao Phoenix clan. Xiao Fan said, perhaps, the ancient Xiaoxiao dragon and the ancient Tianyao Phoenix had a great battle here, and finally died here, so this situation occurred. Maybe. Zhi Yan nodded slightly, bit her slender finger, and the golden blood on her fingertips seeped into the golden light shield. The golden light shield suddenly fluctuated, and soon a golden crack appeared. Next, Xiao Fan and his party entered the golden light shield with Zhu Yan through the golden crack. In the golden light shield, there was a desolate plain. In the center of the plain, there was an ancient boulder altar that was 100 feet high, and a faint majesty permeated from the altar. In the center of the altar, there was a purple gold altar. In the depression in the center of the altar, a small sapling was swirling out. On the sapling was a golden purple fruit, which was the dragon phoenix origin fruit, one of the purposes of their trip. An ancient Xiaoxiao dragon and an ancient celestial phoenix actually fell here at the same time. At this time, Yao Chen's soul body floated out. When he looked around, he found 2 huge corpses under the altar and cried out in shock. Zhu Yan said softly, "The ancient Sky Phoenix and the ancient Void Dragon are both supreme beings in the Warcraft world, but they are incompatible with each other. They fight each other as soon as they meet. They must have experienced a great battle and both were seriously injured and died here." Xiao Fan nodded slightly. "I'm afraid this Dragon Phoenix origin fruit was born because of this." Zhu Yan nodded and said, "Brother Xiao Fan is right." "That's right." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "This Dragon Phoenix origin fruit is bred by the blood of the ancient Void Dragon and the ancient Sky Phoenix. I think it will be of great help to you. You should put it away." "Thank you, Brother Xiao Fan." Zhu Yan thanked Xiao Fan after hearing this, and then reached out to pick the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. At this moment, the surrounding space suddenly came with a violent fluctuation, and then many auras poured in at the same time. Chapter 286, The Arrogant Sky Demon Phoenix Clan. Zhu Yan shows off her power. Xiao Fan and his companions followed the aura of the space fluctuations and saw that a crack was torn open at the corner of the golden light shield, and then a group of people rushed in like wolves and tigers. The group of intruders first looked around in a daze, and soon their eyes stopped on the altar. Since they were also in the sky at this moment, they saw the extremely dazzling exotic fruit on the altar at a glance, and their expressions were immediately shocked. These intruders came from different forces, and among them was the Tian Yao Huang clan, the enemy of the Xiaoxiao ancient dragon clan. Zhu Yan was summoned by the blood of the Xiaoxiao ancient dragon, while the people of the Tian Yao Huang clan were summoned by the blood power of the ancient Tian Huang. Behind the people of the Tian Yao Huang clan, there were also some people from other forces, all of whom were their allies. That's the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. As members of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan, they naturally knew about the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. After seeing the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit on the altar, they immediately exclaimed, their faces full of surprise and enthusiasm. Hearing the exclamations of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan, Zhu Yan couldn't help but have a cold face and temporarily withdrew her hand. The means of collecting the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit are quite complicated and require concentration. Now is obviously not the best time. After sending away these uninvited guests, it will not be too late to slowly collect the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. Yan, it's you. Take your people away from the altar quickly, otherwise, the Sky Demon Phoenix clan will not let you in Xinyan Pavilion go. Suddenly, a woman in the crowd of Sky Demon Phoenix clan recognized Yan on the altar and made a sharp sound. Seeing this, Xiao Fan couldn't help but look at Yan with a smile. Yanzi, do you know her? Yan explained, that woman's name is Feng Qinger, from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan, and she once worshipped under the Wind and Thunder Pavilion. I don't know how she knew that I was involved in the destruction of the Wind and Thunder Pavilion, and she once led people to fight with me. Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly. She doesn't even seem to be a Zun. You couldn't deal with her? Yan said helplessly. At that time, a strong man from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan took action, and also encountered someone from the Star Meteorite Pavilion who was injured. I was anxious to save people, so she escaped. Zhu Yan wrinkled her upturned nose and snorted. So she is from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan. No wonder she can recognize the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. These guys are ruining my business, so let me deal with them. After the voice fell, Zhu Yan clenched her fists tightly, and her figure flashed, and she rushed into the crowd of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan. Seeing Zhu Yan take the initiative to attack, the people of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan immediately gathered their chi and fought back without hesitation. Bang! The next moment, a member of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan who was fighting with Ziyan, was blown up by Ziyan's punch, and pieces of flesh flew everywhere. Hiss. Seeing this scene, the other members of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan couldn't help but take a breath. They never thought that Ziyan, who looked like a teenage girl, was so powerful. This stinky girl is from the Xiaoxiao ancient dragon clan. Suddenly, among the Sky Demon Phoenix clan, an old man in a black robe frowned and shouted coldly, "Elder Huangjuan, I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you to take action this time." Fang Qinger heard the old man's words and felt the pressure from Ziyan. Her face changed and she hurriedly said respectfully to the old man. This old man was one of the elders of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan. His name was Huangjuan, and he had the cultivation of a 5-starred Zun. Huangjuan nodded slightly, looking at the dragon phoenix origin fruit on the altar. His deep pupils were also filled with fiery colors, and he laughed softly. "Dragon phoenix origin fruit, haha, it's really God's will for our clan. We actually met such a legendary wonder here." After laughing, Huangjuan took a few steps forward, and as his footsteps fell, the obscure and vast aura in the black robe suddenly multiplied at this moment, and when his fourth step fell, the aura of a 5-starred Zun level of cultivation also completely burst out. "Youngsters, leave now, I will leave you alive." Ziyan couldn't help but frown when she heard Huangjuan's words, and sneered, "It's just a 5-starred Zun, but you are so arrogant. If you don't know, you would think it's a emperor." "What a big tone. Since you're seeking death, I will fulfill your wish." Huangjuan was furious when he heard the words, and uttered cold words, with murderous intent. After the voice fell, Huangjuan clenched his fist and punched Ziyan without any fancy moves. As Huangjuan moved, the surrounding space was shaken. Many people around, seeing the might of Huangjuan's attack, all looked stern and could not help but feel awe towards Huangjuan. "Not bad, it suits my taste." Ziyan saw Huangjuan's attack, but was not surprised but happy. She smiled and said, and then waved her fist to meet Huangjuan's attack. Bang! The two fists hit each other, and a dull collision sound suddenly rang in the air. The terrible sound waves spread from the sky, and some Zhong-level strongmen suddenly felt a sweetness in their throats, and then their faces were full of horror. This was just the aftermath of the battle, and they could not bear it. This level of battle was too terrifying. The next moment, Huangjuan, who was originally arrogant, suddenly changed his face. He felt that his internal organs were rolling endlessly, and his face turned directly into the color of pig liver. Puff! Huangjuan tried his best, but still couldn't resist Ziyan's punch. He spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Puff! In an instant, Huangjuan's body fell heavily to the ground. He struggled to stand up several times, but failed. In the end, his eyes rolled back and he completely lost his life. Hiss! Seeing this scene, everyone from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan and the people from various forces who followed them couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, their faces full of disbelief. The people who were shocked couldn't help but make a low sound of discussion. How is this possible? The elder of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan was actually beaten away by that little girl. Elder Huangjuan is a 5-star Zun level warrior, but he was not even able to defeat that little girl with one punch. This can't be true. Damn it, when did such a terrifying little girl appear in the Xiaoxiao ancient dragon clan? This is not a good thing for our clan. Even Elder Huangjuan is not a match for that little girl. Can we just watch the dragon phoenix origin fruit being snatched away by others? Fang Qinger saw Huangjuan being beaten to death by Ziyan with one punch, and her eyes widened immediately. With shock and fear in her eyes, Huangjuan was already the strongest among them, and even Huangjuan was beaten to death by Ziyan with one punch. If Ziyan wanted to attack the rest of them, wouldn't all of them have only one way to go? Not only Fang Qinger, but also the people of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan and the people of other forces who followed them, all had the same idea at this moment, and looked at Ziyan with a deep fear in their eyes. Chapter 287 Dog Bites Dog. The Trouble of the Sky Demon Phoenix Clan. Ziyan glanced at the people around her and hesitated a little, not knowing how to deal with these people. So, Ziyan asked Xiao Fan for help. Brother Xiao Fan, How do you think we should deal with these people? Fang Qinger and the people from the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan all subconsciously looked in the direction of Xiao Fan when they heard Zhi Yan's words, and their expressions were very nervous. At the same time, they were also very curious in their hearts. Such a powerful Zhi Yan actually asked Xiao Fan for his opinion. Is Xiao Fan stronger than Zhi Yan? However, there were also a few people who had been to the ancient tribe before, participated in the ancient tribe's coming-of-age ceremony, and saw Xiao Fan's face. Fighting saint. After seeing Xiao Fan's face again, they were even more frightened. They couldn't help but regret that they would not have been with these guys from the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan. They never thought that a young fighting saint like Xiao Fan would actually come to a fighting saint ruins. Xiao Fan couldn't help but laugh when he heard Zhi Yan's words. Didn't you just say that you were in charge of these people? It's up to you how you want to deal with them. Miss, we accidentally broke into this place and disturbed you. We are very sorry. We will leave now. Yes. We don't have any intention of thinking about the spiritual fruit. This is just a matter between the Sky Demon Phoenix clan and you. It has nothing to do with us. We are willing to retreat now. Yes, the culprits of all this are these people from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan. Please spare the rest of us, Miss. Seeing that Xiao Fan had handed the decision-making power to Zhi Yan, everyone pleaded with Zhi Yan. In their opinion, Zhi Yan was young and must have a simple mind. As long as they put aside their pride and begged for mercy, Zhi Yan should have a great chance of letting them go. When the people of the Sky Demon Phoenix heard the words of the people from other forces, they suddenly became angry and stared at them. If the situation was not wrong, the people of the Sky Demon Phoenix would have been unable to resist showing off their power. Zhi Yan thought for a while and suddenly smiled sweetly. Since you all said so, I would like to ask you to do me a favor. As long as you do this, I will let you go. How about it? I don't know what the lady wants us to do. Just tell us. After hearing Zhi Yan's words, someone in the crowd immediately spoke up. Then, others also echoed. Zhi Yan smiled and said, these guys from the Sky Demon Phoenix actually coveted my spiritual fruit and dragged you down. They are our common enemies. You join forces to help me get rid of the remaining people from the Sky Demon Phoenix, and I will let you go. Swish. Fang Qinger and others from the Sky Demon Phoenix heard Zhi Yan's words, and their faces suddenly changed. They looked at the people from other forces around them, with a hint of threat in their eyes. At this time, people from other forces also looked at Fang Qinger and others from the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan, with flickering expressions in their eyes. The Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan was very powerful, almost comparable to the top few of the 8 ancient clans. If they killed Fang Qinger and others, wouldn't they completely offend the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan? However, if they didn't do it, I'm afraid Zhi Yan and Xiao Fan would not let them go. Especially after learning that Xiao Fan was at least at Sheng, they didn't dare to have any fluke mentality. Kill them. As long as they are all killed, how can the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan know that it was us who did it? Suddenly, someone in the crowd gritted his teeth and spoke. Obviously, he had made a great determination. Soon, others also echoed, yes, kill them all. Anyway, all this was caused by the guys from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan. Yes, they caused the trouble themselves, and they can't blame anyone else if they die. Seeing this, Fang Qinger's face turned pale and she shouted sternly, if you dare to attack us, the Sky Demon Phoenix clan will not let you go. Fang Qinger's words not only failed to scare everyone, but also completely ignited everyone's anger. Stinky woman, you still dare to threaten us? Go to hell. Someone in the crowd shouted angrily and attacked Fang Qinger fiercely. Then, other people also joined the team that besieged the Sky Demon Phoenix clan. They fought very hard, as if they were afraid that Zhi Yan and Xiao Fan would think that they were pretending to obey. Fang Qinger and other people from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan saw this, and they were shocked and angry, but at this moment they had no intention of thinking too much, and could only do their best to deal with the joint siege of the people around them. The strongest person of the Sky Demon Phoenix clan was the elder Huang Zhuan, but unfortunately he was beaten to death by Zhi Yan with one punch. The rest of the people, facing the siege of people from other forces, soon fell into a disadvantage and suffered heavy casualties. Xiao Fan looked at this scene and couldn't help but smile and said to Zhi Yan, I didn't expect that your little brain could come up with such a method of disposal. Zhu Yan laughed and said, I'm very smart, okay? How about this idea, isn't it? Xiao Yan praised from the side. Let these guys fight each other, and we'll watch the show from the side. Senior Zhu Yan's idea is more than good. It's simply too good. Zhu Yan smiled and said, not bad. You still have some vision. King Lin listened to the conversation between Xiao Fan, Xiao Yan and Zhu Yan, and just covered his mouth and chuckled. Half an hour later, all the people from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan, including Fang Kinger, were surrounded and killed. And half of the people from other forces were also directly killed or injured. After all, the guys from the Sky Demon Phoenix clan still have some trump cards. Mr. Zhao, this lady, the people of the Heavenly Phoenix clan have been eliminated. Can we leave now? After dealing with the people of the Heavenly Phoenix clan, an old man of Zun level stepped forward, clasped his fists to Xiao Fan and Zhu Yan, and asked carefully. Zhu Yan said lightly, this lady keeps her word, you can go away. Thank you for your kindness, young lady. The old man of Zun level was delighted when he heard the words, and immediately clasped his hands to Zhu Yan, then turned around and retreated, preparing to leave the space in the golden light cover. When the others heard Zhu Yan's response, they were relieved, and they all expressed their gratitude to Zhu Yan, and then hurriedly fled. Xiao Fan watched this scene and did not come forward to stop them. To him, these people were just bigger ants. Xiao Fan was not a bloodthirsty person, and he was not afraid that they would leak the news, so naturally there was no need to kill them to silence them. Okay, now that the troublesome guys have been dealt with, you can pick the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit first. After the group of people left, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he set up a space barrier around the altar, and then said to Zhu Yan. Xiao Fan set up the space barrier to prevent other blind people from breaking in and disturbing Zhu Yan from collecting the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit. Although Xiao Fan was not afraid, he did not want to cause trouble. Yeah, Zhu Yan nodded in agreement, and began to carefully collect the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit. Chapter 288, Harvest the fruits and enter the Alchemy Palace. Zhu Yan took a step forward, walked to the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit, bit her finger, smeared the blood all over her hand, and then carefully touched the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit. As soon as the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit touched Zhu Yan's little hand, it burst into a dazzling light, and then the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit turned into a golden and purple liquid, flowing in Zhu Yan's little hand, and then quietly invaded her body. When the liquid disappeared, a pattern appeared on the palm of Zhu Yan's hand, and it looked like the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit. Zhu Yan said softly, the energy of this thing is too terrifying. I can only seal it in my body temporarily and find a way to refine and absorb it later. Xiao Fan smiled and said, don't worry, after we get out, I will help you refine this Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit into pills. The energy in it can also be divided into multiple parts. You just need to eat one pill each time as usual and refine and absorb it step by step. Zhu Yan's eyes lit up when she heard Xiao Fan's words. Yes, why didn't I think of it? Besides, Brother Xiao Fan, it will be more delicious after you refine it into pills. Xiao Fan smiled and did not continue the topic. Let's go. Let's continue to look at other places in the ruins and look for the remains of the Cheng. In addition, it is said that there is a heaven-level fighting skill in the Cheng ruins. If you come across it, you can also accept it by the way. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yan and King Lin naturally had no objection to this. Xiao Fan casually removed the space barrier he had just set up, and then the group went directly out of the unique space where the golden light cover was. Then, the group returned to the center of the hall along the direction they came from. In the center of the hall, there are several different corridors leading to different areas. They just chose one of the corridors to explore, and there are several other corridors that they have not had time to explore. All the medicinal materials in this area have been looted by Xiao Fan into his small world, and everywhere is bare. Therefore, Xiao Fan and his companions did not stop along the way and soon returned to the hall. At this moment, the hall was already in a mess, and it was turned upside down by the cultivators who broke in from behind. These guys are too barbaric. The hall has been destroyed beyond recognition. Seeing this scene, Zhu Yan wrinkled her upturned nose and snorted. Xiao Fan smiled and said, who cares? Anyway, We have already looked inside this hall, there is nothing good. Even if they turn the hall upside down, it will be a waste of effort. Xiao Yan said, perhaps they turned the hall upside down just to vent their anger because they found nothing. They also hope to find some hidden treasures. Xiao Fan nodded slightly and said, maybe. Such a strong smell of elixirs. It seems that there should be a lot of elixirs. Maybe it is an elixir storage room. Suddenly, Xiao Yan took a deep breath and a burst of green light came out of his eyes. Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard this. Elixir. Xiao Yanzi, lead the way. Let's go and see what kind of elixirs there are in this ruins first. Okay. Xiao Yan nodded and responded, then followed the smell of elixirs and led the way for Xiao Fan, Ziyan and King Lin. Under the guidance of Xiao Yan, the group quickly passed through one of the corridors and came to another ancient palace. On the temple, there were two large characters written in a flamboyant style, Dan Palace. At this moment, the gate of the Dan Palace had already been knocked open from the outside, and it was vaguely visible that many figures were walking through the Dan Palace. Xiao Fan was not surprised to see the words on the ancient temple, and chuckled, it seems that your judgment is correct, Xiao Yanzi, but it seems that someone has already got there first. I hope the pills have not been emptied. If someone gets there first, we can just grab them. Ziyan waved her fist when she heard Xiao Fan's words, looking eager to try. Let's go and take a look first. Xiao Fan smiled and walked into the Dan Palace first. Xiao Yan, Ziyan and King Lin naturally followed Xiao Fan's steps. This Dan Palace has 3 floors in total. After the group entered the first floor of the Dan Palace, they took a casual glance and lost interest. The first floor of the Dan Palace, like the main hall before, had been ransacked, and the hall was in a mess. Xiao Yan shrugged slightly. It seems that everything on the first floor has been taken away in advance. Ziyan said, then let's go to the second floor quickly. Well, let's go. Xiao Fan nodded slightly, and then the group quickly rushed to the second floor of the Dan Palace. After entering the second floor of the Dan Palace, Xiao Fan reminded several people, be careful, there seems to be a hidden poison in the air here. Xiao Yan was slightly startled when he heard Xiao Fan's words, and after taking a breath, he also discovered the hidden toxicity in the air. No wonder there are fewer people on the second floor. It seems that someone has been infected. Xiao Yan glanced at the corpse on the ground in the distance, whispered, and then said, I have some detoxification pills here. Everyone take them, just in case. While speaking, Xiao Yan took out the detoxification pills he had refined before from the ring and gave them to Ziyan and King Lin. When Xiao Yan handed the detoxification pill to Xiao Fan waved his hand and refused. This little bit of poison has no effect on me, you can keep it. Xiao Yan laughed and said, I underestimated the power of my third brother, the D. As he said that, Xiao Yan also put away the remaining pills. Several people searched the second floor of the Dan Palace, but only found a few pills of low quality, so they continued to go to the third floor of the Dan Palace. The third floor of this Dan Palace is extremely vast, surrounded by many large-scale alchemy rooms. Whether it is decoration or pomp, it is far from comparable to the 2 floors below. On this third floor, some figures can also be vaguely seen. Among them, several people who had previously broken through the golden light shield with the Tian Yao Huang clan, saw Xiao Fan and his group coming. Their faces suddenly changed, and they didn't care about looking for treasures, and hurried out of the Dan Palace. When the others saw this scene, their expressions also changed, and their eyes looking at Xiao Fan and the others were full of vigilance and alertness. Let's see what treasures are in these alchemy rooms. Xiao Fan ignored the people around him. After glancing at the third floor hall, he said to Xiao Yan, Ziyan and King Lin. The 3 of them had no objection to this. Next, they rushed around the third floor of the alchemy hall and searched without any hesitation. During this period, there were some blind people who wanted to compete with Xiao Fan and his friends for elixirs, but they were directly beaten up by Ziyan with one punch. Seeing this, the rest of the people did not dare to have any more thoughts. Xiao Fan and his party searched more than a dozen alchemy rooms in succession and found a lot of elixirs and recipes. The highest grade of them reached the 7th grade. Elixirs of this level are already very precious. When Xiao Fan pushed open the door of an alchemy room again, Suddenly a white shadow flashed quickly from the alchemy room to the door. Chapter 289 Capturing the Dan Beast. The mysterious ball of light. The sudden appearance of the white shadow startled Xiao Yan, Zhi Yan and King Lin. The fighting spirit in their bodies started to circulate almost instantly, and they were full of vigilance. Xiao Fan was very calm. With a slight thought, he directly laid a space barrier at the door of the stone chamber. Bang! The white shadow seemed to hit the wall, making a dull sound, and then plop! It fell on the floor of the stone chamber. Several people looked at the place where the white shadow landed, and saw that the white shadow turned out to be a small animal covered with white fluff. This small animal looks like a cat, but its body is particularly fat and round, and it looks very honest. However, there is no energy fluctuation in its body, and it seems to be just an ordinary small animal. After the small animal landed, it stared at Xiao Fan and others with wide eyes, and there was a human-like vigilance in its eyes. What a cute little animal! King Lin looked at the appearance of the little animal and couldn't help but show joy on his face. Xiao Fan smiled slightly. This is not an ordinary little beast, but a pill transformed. Brother Xiao Fan, you said this little beast is actually a pill? Zhi Yan was surprised when she heard Xiao Fan's words. She looked at the little beast carefully and licked her tongue unconsciously, as if she was looking at something delicious. When the little beast saw Zhi Yan's appearance, it was immediately startled and stepped back a few steps, trying to distance itself from Zhi Yan. King Lin and Xiao Yan were also a little surprised when they heard Xiao Fan's words. Xiao Yan sensed it carefully. As an alchemist, he soon recognized that the little beast was transformed from a pill. His eyes widened immediately. I didn't expect that there really is a pill that can transform into a human form. If I'm not mistaken, the body of this little beast should be a pill that has experienced 8 or even 9 colors of pill thunder. It is only a stone's throw away from the 9th grade pill. The strong smell of pills I smelled just now was emitted by the body of this little beast. 8th grade pill that has experienced 8-color pill thunder. Zhi Yan's face was immediately filled with excitement when she heard Xiao Yan's words. Catch this little guy? Don't act trashly. This little guy doesn't seem to have much energy, but he is not easy to mess with. If we scare it away, it will be difficult for us to find it from such a large pill haul without its breath as an indicator. Xiao Yan shook his head. A smile appeared on his face and he said, besides, you don't need to use brute force to catch this kind of little guy. Xiao Fan chuckled and said, you mean to lure it with elixirs, right? However, this little guy has been spoiled by the elixirs in the elixir hall. Ordinary elixirs have no effect. It would be a waste to use high-grade elixirs. It is better to catch it and study it directly, so as not to waste time and elixirs. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Fan opened the 5 fingers of his right hand, and the fighting spirit in his body was urged out. In an instant, a phantom hand condensed and grabbed the little beast transformed by the elixir. When the little beast saw the phantom hand grabbing it, it was frightened and stepped back a few steps, trying to escape. However, with its little Taoism, how could it escape from Xiao Fan's palm? In an instant, the little beast was caught by the phantom hand and fell onto Xiao Fan's hand. The little beast kept struggling in Xiao Fan's hand, but unfortunately there was no way to break free. Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly put the elixir beast into his small world. This elixir beast is of no use for the time being, so keep it first. Maybe it can be used in the future. In the small world opened up by Xiao Fan, he is an omnipotent god. As long as he wants, he can easily find anything in the small world, including living creatures. Therefore, Xiao Fan is not worried about the trouble of finding Dan beasts in the future. Seeing this, Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. Okay, I worry too much, or the third brother's method is direct and effective. Zhi Yan smiled and said, that requires the strength of brother Xiao Fan first. That's right. Xiao Yan nodded slightly, agreeing with this. Xiao Fan also smiled when he heard it. Let's go and see if there are other good things in the Dan Palace. If not, we should leave and look for the remains of the Zheng. Hearing the words Zheng remains, Xiao Yan's eyes couldn't help but fluctuate, and even Yao Chen's soul body trembled slightly. If the remains of the Zheng can be used as a carrier to revive Yao Chen, the resurrected Yao Chen may be able to directly reach the Zheng realm that he has never reached in his life. How can Yao Chen not be excited? Next, Xiao Fan and his party searched the third floor of the Dan Palace again. When there was nothing good to find, they left the Dan Palace and returned to the previous palace, and then continued to look for the whereabouts of the Cheng's remains. While searching for the whereabouts of the Cheng's remains, the party searched for various useful things along the way, and shuttled back and forth in the winding corridors. After more than half an hour, the party found an ancient palace again in the Cheng ruins. The whole body of this palace was copper yellow in color. Countless years had made this copper yellow look even deeper. The ancient atmosphere permeated from under each stone slab, making people feel the vicissitudes of countless years of silence. The palace was very wide, and people standing in it were like ants. In the center of the palace, there were 10 huge balls of light. The balls of light were suspended in the air, and in the dazzling light, it seemed that a scroll-like thing could be seen faintly. In the center of the 10 huge balls of light, there was a stone seat. On the stone seat, a skeleton with a jade-white body was sitting cross-legged with its hands pinching seals, the remains of the Cheng. When Xiao Yan and Yao Chen saw the skeleton in the center, they were all excited. Could the scrolls in these balls of light be all heaven-level fighting skills? Seeing the 10 huge balls of light floating in the air, Zhu Yan said with some anticipation. Zhu Yan was not very interested in the remains of the Cheng. She was more concerned about the mysterious ball of light. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "You are probably overthinking. As for what is in the ball of light, just open it and take a look. However, before that, we have to clear some obstacles first." While Xiao Fan was talking, he looked around the hall. At this time, there were dozens of figures in the hall, looking at the 10 huge balls of light and the remains of the Cheng in the center of the ball of light with fiery faces. When those people saw Xiao Fan looking at them, their faces suddenly changed. During this period of time, the news about Xiao Fan and his companions in the Cheng ruins had spread completely. They all knew that a young Cheng master had broken into the Cheng ruins. Facing a Cheng master, they had no chance of winning. But many people were unwilling to give up their heavenly ranked skills and the remains of a Cheng master. Do you choose to leave by yourself, or do you want me to send you off? Xiao Fan looked at the intruders with an indifferent expression and spoke calmly. Chapter 290. Clear the area. New intruder. Boom. As the sound fell, Xiao Fan directly released the powerful aura of a doughty strongman. Bang, bang, bang. Under the pressure of the terrifying aura, many people in the hall were directly blown away, hitting the wall of the hall heavily, and then fell to the ground with a thump. Even the few people who were not blown away were uncontrollably retreating again and again, almost leaving the hall. Hiss! What a terrifying momentum! Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but take a breath. Their hearts were extremely shocked, and at the same time they were full of fear of Xiao Fan. Doughty strongmen have not appeared on the Qi continent for tens of thousands of years. They have never felt the aura of a doughty, so they don't know that Xiao Fan has now broken through to the doughty level. However, they are very clear that Xiao Fan's strength has exceeded their imagination. Since Master Xiao has taken a fancy to this place, I will take my leave now. After a while, one of them wisely chose to leave, clasped his fists to Xiao Fan, and then quickly left the hall and went to other places in the ruins, hoping to gain something in other places. With the leader, the others also expressed their intention to leave to Xiao Fan and quickly left the hall. Zhu Yan said with a smile, "Brother Xiao Fan, you are really amazing. You scared all those guys away with your momentum." Xiao Fan chuckled and said, "If they knew that I have reached the level of doughty, they would run even faster." "Well, let's take a look at what is in these scrolls," Xiao Yan said at this time. "Before that, I'm afraid we have to deal with those stone sculptures." Xiao Fan nodded slightly. "I also found that these stone sculptures are actually puppets left by the ancient Cheng. The puppets this time have the level of Zun, which is also a good gift." After the voice fell, Xiao Fan directly released a powerful soul power, and in an instant, he wiped out the soul imprints in the bodies of the dozen Zun-level puppets. Then he planted his soul imprints on the dozen Zun-level puppets and put them all into the storage ring, waiting to be used by the Xiao family after returning. Xiao Yan smiled and said, "Even if there is no other gain this time, the Zong puppets before, plus the dozen Zun puppets this time, are all great gains for the Xiao family." Xiao Fan said lightly, This world has always been like this, the winner takes all. The strong will always be strong. If we are not strong enough, we cannot get other treasures, and we cannot take this puppet away. Now that we are strong enough, everything in this relic is at our disposal. After saying that, Xiao Fan opened his right hand with 5 fingers and grabbed one of the 10 mysterious light balls. With a crisp click, the light ball was torn, and there was an ancient scroll inside. Xiao Fan took a quick look and found that this was not a heaven-level fighting skill, but just a low-level earth-level fighting skill. It seems that not all of these 10 light balls are heaven-level fighting skills. Xiao Fan showed the scroll to Xiao Yan, Xiao Yan, and King Lin, and said lightly. Xiao Yan said, "Even if it is an earth-level fighting skill, it is already very good." Then, Xiao Fan did the same thing again, and easily took out all the scrolls and the remaining 9 light balls. Why are the records on these 10 scrolls not heaven-level fighting skills? Have we all been fooled by that dead Cheng? Seeing that the records on the 10 scrolls were not heaven-level fighting skills, Xiao Yan couldn't help but pout, and looked at the Cheng skeleton with an angry look in her eyes. Xiao Yan also frowned slightly and carefully explored the hall, but did not find anything special for a while. Xiao Fan smiled slightly when he heard it. "You don't have to be anxious. There are indeed heaven-level fighting skills in this relic, but they are not in these 10 light balls, but on the skeleton of the Cheng. These 10 light balls are just used to confuse people." "Papa, young people are very knowledgeable." As soon as Xiao Fan's voice fell, a crisp clapping sound suddenly rang out in the hall. Then, there was a violent fluctuation at the entrance of the hall, and a space channel appeared. From the space channel, an old man in gray and white clothes walked out and slowly stepped out of the crack. The old man was hunched, leaning on a skull cane in his hand, with deep eyes, and 2 groups of faint green light flashing in his eyes, giving people a gloomy and weird feeling. This man is the Bone Ghost Saint of the Soul Palace. Yao Chen saw the old man appear, and couldn't help but remind Xiao Yan secretly in his heart. The Bone Ghost Saint is the second celestial master of the Soul Palace, and also the elder of the Soul Clan, with the cultivation of a high-level semi-saint. With such a cultivation, even in the land of Zhangzhou, if the 8 ancient clans do not come out, it is considered an extremely powerful existence. The Soul Palace's forces are almost all over the continent, and naturally they are concerned about this Cheng ruins. After Xiao Fan broke the seal of the Cheng ruins in advance, someone reported the matter to the top leaders of the Soul Palace. Even the fact that Xiao Fan showed off his power in the ruins later was passed up. So the Soul Palace also sent people to kill towards the Cheng ruins. Strong men above the Zun level can tear through space to travel, so distance is not a problem. After being reminded by Yao Chen, Xiao Yan also told Xiao Fan the identity of the person who came. "Third brother, this person is the second Tanzun of the Soul Palace." Xiao Fan nodded slightly, then looked at Guyu and said lightly, "Look at you, a bunch of bones, almost buried in the soil. Don't come out to take advantage of your age, otherwise you will die accidentally." Guyu heard a cold light in his eyes. "Boy, don't be arrogant just because you have some strength. I want to see if you really have the strength of a Cheng." After that, Guyu planned to take the initiative to attack Xiao Fan. "Guyu, you are not his opponent, you go to deal with others, and I will take care of this kid." At this time, another gloomy voice came from the passage. "Yes, Deputy Palace Master." Guyu saw the person coming and hurriedly spoke respectfully. The person who came was the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall, whose cultivation had reached the level of 3-star Cheng. Xiao Fan looked at the 2 people from the Soul Hall who looked superior, and couldn't help shaking his head. "Okay, stop putting on airs. Is there anyone else from the Soul Hall who wants to die? I'll send you off at once, so that you won't be lonely on the road." Sure enough, he is as arrogant as the rumors say. Upon hearing this, the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall flashed a cold murderous intent in his eyes, and spoke lightly. As the voice fell, the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall stretched out his right hand and quickly grabbed towards Xiao Fan's position. In an instant, a thick black fog enveloped the hall, and the dark giant hand almost covered the sky. At the same time, Guyu also sneered and took the initiative to attack Yan, Xiao Yan and King Lin. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291. Destroy the strong men from Soul Palace again, and revive the skeleton of Cheng. Don't overestimate your own abilities. Xiao Fan couldn't help but chuckle when he saw the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall and the second Heavenly Venerable Guyu taking the initiative to attack. When the voice fell, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly urged his fighting spirit, forming a thunder sword with a flashing purple light in the palm of his hand, and chopped down at the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall and Guyu. Rumble. With Xiao Fan's action, the whole hall was suddenly filled with earth-shaking sounds. The terrifying thunder sword directly cut through the space and instantly fell on the positions of Guyu and the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall. Sensing the terrifying power of the thunder sword, the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall and Guyu both changed their faces and couldn't help showing a look of horror. The Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall suddenly flashed and instantly came to Guyu's side, and suddenly pushed Guyu out, blocking the place where the thunder sword fell. At the same time, the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall turned around and wanted to escape directly, because he felt the threat of death from the thunder sword that Xiao Fan sent out. Bang! The next moment, a blast sounded, and it was Guyu who was directly cut by the terrifying thunder sword. The terrifying thunder sword intent directly shattered his body on the spot. Don't you think it's too late to escape now? After dealing with Guyu, Xiao Fan saw the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall who was about to open the space channel and escape from here. He smiled and shook his head. At the same time, he opened the 5 fingers of his right hand, and a swallowing vortex appeared in his palm. The terrifying swallowing power of heaven and earth was activated. Although this magical power cannot devour and refine humans, the devouring power is enough to suck the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall out of the space channel that was about to open. The body of the Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall soon flew back to Xiao Fan uncontrollably. If you dare to kill me, the Soul Hall and the Soul Clan will not let you go. The Deputy Hall Master of the Soul Hall felt the murderous intent on Xiao Fan. His face changed drastically, and he threatened with a fierce but weak voice. Xiao Fan said disdainfully, Soul Palace and Soul Clan, even if they don't come to me, I will go to them when I have time. You want to scare me with Soul Palace and Soul Clan? You think too much. As soon as the voice fell, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he directly urged the powerful soul power to form a soul sword, slashing at the soul of the Deputy Hall Master of Soul Palace. Swish! The invisible soul sword slashed down, and the soul of the Deputy Hall Master of Soul Palace was instantly chopped on the spot, turning into a body without a soul. Although he knew that Xiao Fan had broken through the realm of D, he saw that a 3-starred Cheng had no power to resisting Xiao Fan's hands and was killed by Xiao Fan on the spot. Yao Chen in the Bone Flame Ring still felt a shock in his heart. As for the half-saint level Soul Palace second Heavenly Venerable Guyu, he was directly ignored. Xiao Yan's eyelids also twitched slightly, and he had a new understanding of Xiao Fan's strength. Zhi Yan and King Lin were already used to Xiao Fan's strength. It seemed that any earth-shattering move made by Xiao Fan was taken for granted in their eyes. Xiao Fan ignored Yao Chen and Zhi Yan's thoughts. After dealing with the 2 people from the Soul Hall who were still lingering around, Xiao Fan threw the body of the Deputy Master of the Soul Hall to Zhi Yan. Put this body away. If the remains of the Cheng are not suitable, you can directly use this Cheng body to revive Mr. Yao. Thank you very much, third brother. Zhi Yan did not refuse after hearing this. He thanked Xiao Fan and put the body of the Deputy Master of the Soul Hall into his ring. Yao Chen saw this scene and felt even more grateful to Xiao Fan. After dealing with the people from the Soul Hall, there were no more irrelevant people in the hall. Xiao Fan took Zhi Yan, King Lin and Zhi Yan and walked straight to the location of the Cheng skeleton. Because of Xiao Fan's reminder, after they arrived at the Cheng skeleton, they carefully searched the Cheng skeleton. Not long after, they found the tiny words engraved on the Cheng skeleton. The heaven-level fighting skill is actually engraved on the Cheng skeleton, and the power of this heaven-level fighting skill seems to be quite impressive. The Great Heavenly Creation Palm. Just hearing the name is quite impressive. Not long after, Xiao Yan was the first to discover the great heavenly creation palm engraved on the Cheng skeleton, and he couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "It is indeed a good fighting skill. Everyone can take a look, write it down first and try to practice it after returning." Yeah. Ziyan and King Lin nodded and agreed to speak after hearing Xiao Fan's words. Xiao Yan naturally had no objection to this. Xiao Fan just glanced at it casually, and he had already memorized the great heavenly creation palm in his heart. Moreover, Xiao Fan, who had an extraordinary understanding, easily practiced and mastered this skill. Xiao Yan, Ziyan and King Lin were much slower. Just as the three of them were carefully studying the great heavenly creation palm engraved on the Cheng's skeleton, Xiao Fan suddenly sensed that the space around them had a slight wriggling, and then it was like countless extremely sharp space spikes, fiercely stabbing towards Xiao Yan, Ziyan and King Lin. Seeing this, Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly and said lightly, "It has been dead for so many years, it's better to be at peace." As he spoke, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he laid a layer of space barrier around the three people. The thing that was like a space spike pierced the space barrier laid by Xiao Fan, making a squeaking sound, but it did not damage the space barrier at all. At this time, Ziyan, Xiao Yan and King Lin also discovered the abnormality around them, and their faces could not help but change slightly. Ziyan said in surprise, "Brother Xiao Fan, what is this? Is it the work of the dead ancient Cheng?" King Lin and Xiao Yan also looked at Xiao Fan curiously, waiting for his answer. Xiao Fan nodded slightly. Yes, it was the dead Cheng who did it, or it was the remains of the Cheng who was doing something. It wanted to absorb your blood. Maybe it could help it regain its vitality. Roar! At this moment, the Cheng skeleton suddenly raised its head and let out a thunderous roar, like thunder in the sky and earth, shaking the whole hall. Under the impact of the terrifying sound wave, Ziyan and King Lin's faces changed slightly, and they felt a surge of blood in their bodies. However, this impact had no effect on Xiao Yan, who was already a 5-star Cheng, and Xiao Fan, who was at the Emperor level. Crackling. Then, a series of bone-twisting sounds were heard in the hall. The Cheng skeleton, which was originally sitting upright, slowly stood up at this moment, and the skull twisted, as if looking in the direction of Xiao Fan and the others. There were 2 inconspicuous green flames jumping in the empty pupils. Anyone who breaks into the ruins will die. The friction between the bones of the fighting saint's skeleton made a sharp sound full of murderous intent. Chapter 292. Late check-in. Refining Dragon Phoenix Pill. Seeing this scene, King Lin's face turned pale, and he said in fear, "Is this Cheng skeleton alive again?" Ziyan said nonchalantly, "Even if it is alive, what is there to be afraid of? Anyway, there is Brother Xiao Fan, a Emperor, here." "What does a mere Cheng skeleton mean?" Xiao Fan smiled. "Ziyan is right, but this Cheng skeleton is not alive. It's just that there is a trace of the soul remnant left by the original Cheng in the Cheng skeleton. As long as the soul remnant is erased, this Cheng skeleton will naturally become a pile of useless bones." After saying that, Xiao Fan did not delay and once again launched a powerful soul power, forming a terrifying soul sword, and fiercely slashed at the Cheng skeleton. Ah! The next moment, a shrill scream came from the Cheng skeleton, followed by a thump, and the Cheng skeleton fell to the ground powerlessly. Crash! When the fighting saint's skeleton fell to the ground, it actually scattered into several pieces, as if it had lost the support of some special energy. Xiao Yan's eyelids twitched when he saw this scene. Fortunately, the Cheng from the Soul Palace came to our door, otherwise, it would be too painful to see the Cheng's skeleton fall apart. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Even if there is no Cheng from the Soul Palace attacking today, we can still attack the Soul Palace another day. As long as the Soul Palace is destroyed, the Cheng's corpse must be enough for you to use." Xiao Yan shrugged. "Third brother, if your words are spread out, I don't know how big a sensation it will cause." Xiao Fan smiled. "Okay, let's not talk about this for now. This ruins has been cleaned up. You can revive your teacher here directly." Xiao Yan scratched his head when he heard this, and said a little embarrassedly, "We have the Shengu rock soup hill in the Cheng's corpse, but we still lack the essence and blood of at least a 7th level demon beast." "Small problem. Wait a moment." Xiao Fan smiled faintly, and then his mind moved slightly, and he sank into the small world. In his small world, he had previously searched for countless medicinal materials, and even the ancient forest was taken in. In the ancient forest, there are many magical beasts, not to mention the 7th level magical beasts. There are also 8th level and 9th level magical beasts. Xiao Fan searched the small world with his consciousness and soon found a 9th level fire-attributed magical beast. He took a drop of blood from it. This is a drop of blood from a 9th level magical beast. With the addition of the Cheng corpse, the bone-melting blood pill, and your several kinds of strange fire, I believe that your teacher can be successfully resurrected. Xiao Fan casually handed the 9th level magical beast's blood to Xiao Yan, and said softly, "Thank you, third brother." Xiao Yan reached out to take the 9th level magical beast's blood and thanked Xiao Fan gratefully. Yao Chen's soul also floated out, both excited and grateful. Mr. Xiao's great kindness, Yao Chen will remember it in his heart. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Okay, Yanzi, you can revive your teacher here, and King Lin, Ziyan and I will protect you." Okay. Yan naturally had no objection to this, and agreed, and then began to prepare to revive Yao Chen. Xiao Fan looked at Ziyan, "Take out the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit while you are free now, and I will help you refine it into pills, so that you can refine and absorb it without risk, and make it more delicious." Yeah. Ziyan nodded happily after hearing Xiao Fan's words, and then performed a spell to take out the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit from her palm. Xiao Fan took the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit and was about to take out the automatic alchemy furnace and put it into it to refine it into pills. At this moment, the familiar prompt sound of the system suddenly sounded in his mind. Ding! Sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained 10 Shengyuan pills. Hearing the voice of the system, Xiao Fan could not help but be stunned, and secretly complained in his heart, "System, your reaction is too slow. You signed in now? Moreover, this Shengyuan pill is of no use to me." Xiao Fan had signed in before to get Shengyuan pill, so he naturally knew the effect of Shengyuan pill. Shengyuan pill is suitable for people in the Cheng realm. Taking Shengyuan pill can increase the cultivation level of people in the Cheng realm by 1 star. However, each person can only take 1 pill to be effective. Xiao Fan is now in the D realm, so this Shengyuan pill naturally has no effect on him. However, the system did not respond to Xiao Fan's complaints. Xiao Fan could only accept it helplessly. "Brother Xiao Fan, what's wrong?" Ziyan saw Xiao Fan's strange expression and couldn't help but ask curiously, "Is it possible that this Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit can't be refined into a pill?" Hearing Ziyan's words, Xiao Fan withdrew his mind from the system and said unhappily, "Who said that? There is no spiritual medicine in this world that I can't refine into a pill." After that, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he took out the automatic alchemy furnace from the ring, opened the lid directly, and put the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit into it without adding any other auxiliary materials. After putting the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit into the automatic alchemy furnace, Xiao Fan closed the lid again. In an instant, the automatic alchemy furnace automatically produced flames and began to refine the Dragon Phoenix Origin fruit. At the same time, Yan first refined the essence and blood of the 9th level demon beast into the body of the Cheng, and then used the flame formed by the fusion of several kinds of strange fire to calcine the body for a long time. 3 days later, Yan finally completely refined the Cheng's body. Yao Chen also seized the opportunity to take the bone-melting blood pill, and then his soul floated into the corpse that was refined to an almost perfect state by Yan. Yan was not in a hurry to remove the strange fire, but was still calcining the corpse to promote the fusion of Yao Chen's soul and the corpse. After another day, Yan retracted the flame, stood aside silently, and nervously watched the movement on the corpse, and silently said in his heart, "Teacher, from now on, everything depends on you." Seeing Yan's somewhat nervous look, Xiao Fan patted his shoulder and comforted him. "Don't worry, your teacher will definitely succeed, and he will directly reach the Cheng realm from the original Zhu Yuanzhang realm." Yan nodded and said, with what third brother said, "I feel at ease." At this time, the flame on the automatic alchemy furnace gradually went out. Ziyan had been paying attention to the changes in the automatic alchemy furnace. When she saw the flame on the automatic alchemy furnace extinguished, she quickly reminded him, "Brother Xiao Fan, look, is the dragon phoenix origin fruit ready?" Xiao Fan smiled and said, "When have I ever disappointed you? Is it necessary to be so nervous?" After that, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he opened the lid of the automatic alchemy furnace. He saw 9 crystal clear and round golden and purple pills in the furnace, which were made from the dragon phoenix origin fruit. Xiao Fan took out a jade bottle, put the 9 pills in it, and handed it to Zhu Yan, saying, "This pill is made from the dragon phoenix origin fruit, so let's call it the dragon phoenix pill. You take 1 pill every month. After 9 months, you can refine and absorb all its medicinal power, and there will be no risk in the process." "Thank you, Brother Xiao Fan." Zhu Yan reached out to take the dragon phoenix pill, her face full of surprise. In excitement, she hugged Xiao Fan directly and kissed him hard on the cheek. Chapter 293, Han Zu takes the initiative in Lei Yan sect. After thanking Xiao Fan, Zhu Yan couldn't wait to take out a dragon phoenix pill and swallow it, then practiced her skills to refine it. As Zhu Yan refined it, her aura gradually strengthened. In an instant, she broke through from the 9-star zone to the first turn zone level, and it was still strengthening. 3 days later, the dragon phoenix pill was completely refined by her, and Zhu Yan's cultivation was directly promoted to the 3rd turn zone level. King Lin, who was standing aside, couldn't help but feel a little envious when she saw Zhu Yan's cultivation breakthroughs one after another, but she was more happy for Zhu Yan, her good friend. "Zhu Yan, congratulations." Zhu Yan smiled and said, "Hee, my cultivation has finally surpassed yours again. If someone dares to bully you in the future, come to me, and I will definitely stand up for you." King Lin smiled and said, "Okay, then it's settled." Thinking back to the time when she was in Canaan College, King Lin was still very weak, and Zhu Yan took good care of her. Xiao Fan smiled and watched the 2 women talking and laughing, but did not interrupt. At this moment, the corpse that originally belonged to the deputy hall master of the Soul Hall suddenly released the aura of a Sheng. His eyes slowly opened, and a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. "Teacher, you have been resurrected successfully." When Xiao Yan saw this scene, his face was immediately filled with joy. "Well," Yao Chen nodded slightly at Xiao Yan and said with a smile, "It is all thanks to you and your master Xiao Fan for their help. Otherwise, I don't know how long it will take for this old man to be resurrected." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Congratulations, Mr. Yao, on your new life." Yao Chen said, "Thank you very much. I will never forget your kindness, Mr. Xiao Fan. I promised Mr. Xiao Fan that I would serve as a guest elder of the Xiao family, and I will keep my promise." Xiao Fan said, "Of course I trust Mr. Yao's credibility. You are a 1-star Sheng now, right? I have a pill called Sheng Yuan pill here, which I will give to you as a gift. After you stabilize your condition, you can take it to increase your cultivation by 1 star. As he spoke, Xiao Fan's mind moved slightly, and he took out a Sheng Yuan pill and handed it to Yao Chen. Yao Chen was shocked when he heard this. A pill that can directly increase the cultivation of a Sheng by 1 star? This is too precious. Xiao Fan said calmly, "There is no reason to take back what I give away, just accept it. If you feel bad, you can train more alchemists for the Xiao family in the future." Yao Chen heard Xiao Fan say this and had to say, "Then I will accept it," with a thick face. While speaking, Yao Chen also took the Sheng Yuan pill with both hands. Afterwards, Xiao Fan took out another Sheng Yuan pill and gave it to Xiao Yan. The few of them searched the Sheng ruins again, and after finding nothing valuable, they went straight out of the Sheng ruins. Originally, Xiao Fan thought that there would be people from the Soul Palace or the Sky Demon Phoenix clan blocking them outside the Sheng ruins, but he didn't expect that after coming out, he didn't meet anyone, so he directly tore the space and took everyone back to the Zhongzhou Lei Yan sect. In the Lei Yan sect, as usual, the sisters Han Nu and Han Zu were left to guard. When the sisters sensed the fluctuations in the space, they all looked alert. However, when they saw Xiao Fan coming out of the space channel, the 2 sisters immediately relaxed and their faces were full of joy. "Young master, you are back." Han Nu and Han Zu took the initiative to greet Xiao Fan and spoke respectfully to him. Xiao Fan nodded slightly. "Yes, you sisters have worked hard during this period." Han Nu said, "Xor and I are very happy to be able to share your worries. We don't feel tired at all." "Yes, sister is right. Hanzu also echoed after hearing this. Xiao Fan smiled after hearing this and did not continue the topic. Next, Xiao Fan did not rush to go out, but stayed in the Lei Yan sect. Yao Chen and Xiao Yan said goodbye to Xiao Fan and prepared to return to Xinyan Pavilion to explain some things to the people in Xinyan Pavilion. After all, they had been away from Xinyan Pavilion for some time, and Yao Chen would join the Zhao clan in the future, and the future of Xinyan Pavilion also needed to be planned. Xiao Fan did not care much about these, and did not stop Yao Chen and Xiao Yan from leaving. Xiao Fan stayed in Lei Yanzong temporarily, and gave some advice to Han Nu and Hanzu on their cultivation. He would also occasionally give some advice to other people in Lei Yanzong, or show up to inspect. In any case, Xiao Fan was also the leader of Lei Yanzong, and showing up from time to time could also enhance the sense of belonging of the people in Lei Yanzong. In addition, Han Nu and Hanzu had been working hard, so Xiao Fan felt that they should be rewarded. For several consecutive days, Xiao Fan not only guided Han Nu and Hanzu on their cultivation, but also taught them some high-level martial arts and fighting skills, and gave them some elixirs. With Xiao Fan's generous help, Han Nu and Hanzu's cultivation was also directly upgraded from 3-star Zun to the realm of 7-star Zun. That night, Xiao Fan was resting his eyes in his room, preparing to go to sleep and rest, when he suddenly heard a crisp knock at the door. Xiao Fan released a ray of soul power and easily sensed that the person at the door was Hanzu from the Han family. Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly, stood up and walked to the door of the room, opened the door. "What's wrong? Is there anything?" Hanzu frowned and said, "Sir, I don't understand a fighting skill you taught me today. I want to ask you for advice. I'm really sorry to disturb you, but if I don't understand, I'm afraid I won't be able to sleep all night." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "It's no big deal. Come in and tell me if you don't understand anything. I'll help you." "Thank you, sir." Hanzu heard, and hurriedly thanked Xiao Fan, and then followed Xiao Fan into the room and locked the door. Seeing this, Xiao Fan's eyelids couldn't help but jump, but he didn't show anything. After Hanzu followed Xiao Fan into the room, she didn't show any special behavior at first, but just asked Xiao Fan a few questions about fighting skills training. "Thank you, sir, for clearing my doubts." After Xiao Fan finished his instructions, Hanzu thanked Xiao Fan with a grateful face. Xiao Fan waved his hand and said, "It's just a small matter, don't be polite." "Yeah." Hanzu nodded in response. Her face suddenly turned slightly red, and she looked like she wanted to say something but stopped. Xiao Fan looked at Hanzu's appearance and asked casually, "What's wrong?" Hanzu hesitated for a while, suddenly lowered her head, blushed, and gritted her teeth and said, "Sir, I heard from Ms. Ziyan that you have a magical skill called Fengwuxiuiwagong, which can quickly improve your strength, right?" Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows when he heard it. "Ziyan told you? Did she tell you that this kind of skill is not something that everyone can practice?" Hanzu blushed and said, "Fengwuxiuiwagong. Xui was not referring to me and my sister. My sister and I both hope to practice this skill with you." After that, Hanzu buried her head in her chest, not daring to look into Xiao Fan's eyes. Xiao Fan leaned close to Hanzu's ear and whispered, "This Fengwuxiuigong is. Do you really want to practice it?" Hanzu whispered, "My sister and I know it. My sister asked me to come to you first." "Sir, do you dislike me?" Xiao Fan smiled and said, "How could I dislike you? Since you know everything, then let me guide you in practicing." Chapter 294. Ziyan is jealous and comes to the martial arts world again. The night passed in cultivation. Under Xiao Fan's guidance, Hanzu's cultivation had made great progress and she had a new understanding of life. In the next few days, under Hanzu's instigation, Han Yu also half-heartedly practiced Fengwuxiuiwagong with Xiao Fan, and her strength also improved significantly. After Ziyan understood the reason why Han Nu and Hanzu's strength improved, she suddenly felt unhappy. That day, Ziyan went straight to Xiao Fan, shook his arm, and said coquettishly, "Brother Xiao Fan, you are too partial." Xiao Fan was puzzled and said, "Why am I partial?" Ziyan said, "I wanted to practice Fengwuxiuiwagong with you before, but you always disagreed. Han Nu and Hanzu only met you later, but you practiced with them. Isn't this partial?" Ahem. Xiao Fan couldn't help but choked when he heard Ziyan's words, and touched his nose and said, "Who makes you special? Let's do this. When you break through the Cheng realm, I will teach you this technique." Xiao Fan remembered that in the original work, Zhu Yan broke through to the Cheng realm and completely became a mature woman. Zhu Yan said, "This is what you said, you wait. I will soon break through the Cheng realm." "Okay, I'll wait." Xiao Fan heard it and agreed with a smile. Zhu Yan got Xiao Fan's accurate answer, so she stopped pestering him, and went back to concentrate on refining the Dragon Phoenix pill to improve herself. Xiao Fan looked at Zhu Yan's departing figure and couldn't help but smiled and shook his head. In the following time, Xiao Fan stayed in Lei Yan sect, inspecting the cultivation of the disciples in the sect every day, or practicing their Feng Shui magic with Han Yu and Han Zhu respectively. Of course, he did not forget to chat in the underwater group and the chat group, and he lived quite comfortably. After a period of time, the system did not trigger the sign-in task again, and Xiao Fan couldn't help but feel a little bored. So, he set his sights on other worlds connected to the chat group. After a selection, Xiao Fan chose to enter the Wudong Qiankun world. The level of the Wudong Qiankun world is comparable to that of Doupo Kangqian, with his cultivation strength comparable to that of the Samsara realm. He doesn't have to worry about any danger when wandering around in it. In addition, from Ling Qingzu, Xiao Fan learned that the Wudong Qiankun world is currently undergoing a 100 Dynasties war. Although those who participated in the 100 Dynasties war are simply vulnerable to Xiao Fan today, but Xiao Fan is still somewhat interested in this wonderful drama. After making up his mind, Xiao Fan directly exchanged a few words with Ling Qingzu through the Wanji chat group, expressing his intention to visit the Wudong Qiankun world again. Ling Qingzu naturally had no objection to this, and immediately invited Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan explained to the sisters Han Yu and Han Zhu, and then he traveled to the Wudong Qiankun world again through the Wanji chat group. Wudong Qiankun world, Jiaoshan taking palace. Ling Qingzu and a middle-aged woman in palace dress were sitting opposite each other. This middle-aged woman in palace dress was the master of Jiaoshan taking palace and Ling Qingzu's master. "Qingzu, you said that there is an alternate world, and you have a friend in the alternate world who is not weak and is about to come here. Is this true? How is the alternate world connected to our world?" Ling Qingzu's master, the master of Jiaoshan taking palace, looked at Ling Qingzu and asked in surprise. Ling Qingzu said, "I accidentally joined the Wanji chat group before. Young Master Xiao's world and our world are connected through the Wanji chat group. Not only Young Master Xiao's world, but also the worlds of some other members can be connected to our world through the Wanji chat group. As long as I send an invitation, they can come to our world through the Wanji chat group. As for how this Wanji chat group came, I don't know." "Is there such a magical thing?" When the master of Jiaoshan taking palace heard Ling Qingzu's words, his eyes flashed slightly and he murmured. At this time, the master and the apprentice sensed a violent space fluctuation one after another. Then, a mysterious illusory light gate appeared in their sight. A young man in a green shirt, who looked about 20 years old, was walking slowly out of the mysterious light gate. When the master of Jiaoshan taking palace saw this scene, his expression changed slightly and he became a little alert. Ling Qingzu greeted him with a faint smile. "Mr. Xiao, welcome to Jiaoshan taking palace." Without a doubt, the figure that walked out of the mysterious illusory light gate was Xiao Fan, who came from the Po Kangqian world. "Thank you." Xiao Fan smiled and thanked Ling Qingzu, and then said, "This must be Miss Ling's master, the palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace, right?" Xiao Fan made this judgment, on the one hand because of the closeness between Ling Qingzu and the middle-aged woman, and on the other hand because of the other party's strength. Xiao Fan remembered that in Jiaoshan taking palace, the only master of the Wheel realm who was comparable to the Cheng level seemed to be the palace master. Ling Qingzu nodded and said, "Mr. Xiao has good eyesight. This is my master." After a pause, Ling Qingzu introduced to the palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace, "Master, this is the young master Xiao Fan I told you about." The palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace looked at Xiao Fan solemnly for a while, and then bowed slightly to Xiao Fan. "Mr. Xiao, I would like to ask, what is your current cultivation level?" The palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace felt a lot of pressure from Xiao Fan, which shocked her heart. so she couldn't help but ask Xiao Fan about his cultivation level. Xiao Fan said calmly, "If it is according to the standards of your world, it should be the samsara realm, but in our world, there is no such thing as reincarnation." The palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace was even more shocked when he heard this. Samsara realm. Young Master Xiao is so young, but he is already a strong man in the samsara realm. Ling Qingzu was also shocked. She remembered that the last time she saw Xiao Fan's cultivation was roughly equivalent to the Shangxun realm in their world. Now he has directly broken through to the samsara realm. This speed is too fast. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "I just have some opportunities." After the two sides chatted for a while, the palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace left in advance on the pretext of having something to do, and asked Ling Qingzu to entertain Xiao Fan. After the palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace left, Xiao Fan said to Ling Qingzu, "I heard you mention the 100 Dynasties War before. I wonder if the 100 Dynasties War is over now?" Ling Qingzu shook her head slightly. "The 100 Dynasties War is now more than halfway through, but it should not end so soon." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "I have nothing to do recently, so I might as well witness this wonderful 100 Dynasties War." Ling Qingzu said, "No problem. I will lead the way, young master." "By the way, I suddenly remembered something." Xiao Fan nodded slightly. He was about to go to the battlefield of the 100 Dynasties War with Ling Qingzu, when he suddenly remembered something and said to Ling Qingzu. Chapter 295 New Sign-In in Wudong World. Ling Qingzu asked curiously, "I wonder what Mr. Xiao is talking about?" Xiao Fan said, "According to the original development trajectory, when the 100 Dynasties War is about to end, the strong men of the West Zhuan territory will take action and want to move the ancient battlefield to the West Zhuan territory. You East Zhuan territory had better make some preparations in advance to avoid being caught off guard." Ling Qingzu's face changed slightly when she heard this. Although the ancient battlefield is just a battlefield, it can be used to train and select disciples and inject fresh blood into the 8 super sects of the East Zhuan territory. If the ancient battlefield is really moved away by the people of the West Zhuan territory, it will definitely be a big loss for the East Zhuan territory. This matter is of great importance. I have to tell my master and let her respond. Mr. Xiao, please wait a moment. After a while of thinking, Ling Qingzu said to Xiao Fan with a bit of apology in her tone. Xiao Fan said indifferently, "You go and tell your master about this matter first." "My matter is not urgent." Ling Qingzu saluted Xiao Fan with a fist, and then quickly informed her master of this matter. After listening to Ling Qingzu's account of the events in the Western Zhuan territory, the palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace could not help but frown slightly, but was somewhat skeptical about the matter. How did this young master Xiao know about the actions of the Western Zhuan territory? Didn't you say that he was from another world? Ling Qingzu said, "Young master Xiao is extraordinary and knows a lot about our world. I personally verified it when I went to the Great Yan dynasty for training before. Moreover, this matter is of great importance and must be guarded against, even if what young master Xiao said did not happen. Master, you have made preparations in advance, so it is better to be prepared. What do you think?" The palace master of Jiaoshan taking palace nodded slightly after hearing this. "You do have some truth in what you said. I will pay attention to this matter." Ling Qingzu was relieved when she heard what her master said, and then she said goodbye and went back to find Xiao Fan. "Mr. Xiao, I have already told my master about the matter. Let's go. I will take you to the ancient battlefield now." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Then I will trouble Miss Ling." Ling Qingzu said, "It's just to lead the way." "You are welcome, Mr. Xiao." Xiao Fan was about to say something when the mechanical prompt sound of the system suddenly sounded in his mind again. Ding! The sign-in task is triggered. Please go to the headquarters of the Tangang Alliance in the ancient battlefield to sign in. The sign-in reward is unknown. Yes, the sign-in task is finally triggered. Hearing the familiar voice of the system, Xiao Fan couldn't help but feel a little happy. Xiao Fan is very much looking forward to the sign-in reward every time. Next, under the guidance of Ling Qingzu, Xiao Fan and the others soon arrived at the ancient battlefield where the 8 super sects in the East Zhuan domain used to select disciples. After entering the ancient battlefield, Xiao Fan did not rush to show up, but took Ling Qingzu with him. Hiding in the void, watching the various fights below, seeing those chosen ones from various dynasties, who were fighting for some inconspicuous treasures anytime and anywhere just like ordinary people. Xiao Fan couldn't help but shake his head slightly. If it weren't for his Wanji chat group and sign-in system, these two powerful plug-ins, he might have to fight for a little bit of cultivation resources like those people below. Mr. Zhao, what's wrong? Ling Qingzu asked curiously when she saw Xiao Fan shaking his head. Xiao Fan smiled and said, nothing, just lamenting that people's destinies are different. The end of some people's lifelong efforts may just be the starting point for others. Ling Qingzu was silent for a while, and then said, this world is like this. It is impossible for everyone to have the same destiny and status. Xiao Fan nodded slightly and did not express any opinion on this. Xiao Fan and Ling Qingzu chatted casually while wandering above the ancient battlefield, watching some disciples who participated in the 100 Dynasties war fighting below, as if watching a wonderful live broadcast, which was much more exciting than reading text in the previous life. However, Xiao Fan did not forget his main purpose. While wandering around, he also paid attention to the conversations of those who participated in the 100 Dynasties war. Finally, on the afternoon of the second day after Xiao Fan and Ling Qingzu arrived at the ancient battlefield, Xiao Fan faintly heard several participants of the 100 Dynasties war whispering about the largest ancient ruins in recent times, which is said to have 108 branch sects. It sounds like this is a large relic. Perhaps the elites of the 100 Dynasties war will stage a wonderful duel in the relic in advance. Let's go and take a look. After hearing the news about the Tangang alliance, Xiao Fan smiled and said to Ling Qingzu beside him. Ling Qingzu said, since Mr. Zhao is interested, let's go and take a look. Xiao Fan smiled and said, perhaps you can also select a few outstanding disciples for Jiaoshan, taking palace from those disciples in advance. While talking and laughing, the two followed the clues and went to the headquarters of the Tangang Alliance. Whoosh, above the sky, the wind broke through, and figures quickly swept past the edge of the sky, and finally appeared around the huge island floating in the sky. This island is surprisingly huge and magnificent, with forests and mountains crisscrossing. Just like an ancient land, a wild aura brewed by the years emanates from the land and ripples in the sky, appearing extremely majestic. At a glance, the island is almost endless, and figures are suspended around it, as small as ants. This huge island is the headquarters of the Tangang Alliance, or the remains of the four top sects of the Tangang Alliance, known as the Four Mysterious Sect. The Four Mysterious Sect is the strongest of the four sects in the Tangang Alliance, and their heritage has attracted the minds of almost all those who participated in the 100 Dynasties war. In addition to the heritage, these four ruins also contain treasures left by the four sects, such as the extremely precious elixir of life and death. Such relics really cannot help but make the elites who participated in the 100 Dynasties war excited. At this moment, on this huge island, countless elite disciples from various dynasties are frantically searching for spiritual medicines, spiritual treasures and other precious items. Many of them are fighting to the death for the same treasure. On this huge island, people lose their lives from time to time because of treasures. TSK. These people are really crazy. When Xiao Fan and Ling Qingzu arrived above this island, they looked at the fight below and couldn't help but smile and shook their heads. Ling Qingzu said, in the way of cultivation, fighting for resources is inevitable. You are right. Xiao Fan nodded, and then smiled. There are many good things in this relic, even I am a little tempted. Ling Qingzu said, the things here should have no effect on the strong in the reincarnation realm. Even if you take them, you can't use them, Mr. Zhao. Xiao Fan shrugged slightly. I can't use them, but people in my family can use them. Hey, there seems to be an acquaintance there. Chapter 296 Lin Dong's Gratitude. The inheritance begins. At this moment, below Xiao Fan and Ling Qingzu, there was an almost endless sea of medicinal herbs. In the center of the sea of medicinal herbs was a pill field, in which there were many huge pill rooms. Many of the elite disciples of the major dynasties who had entered the ruins had already come to this vast pill field. With the attack of the crowd, the runes at the door of the pill room were all blasted, and countless nirvana pills rolled out of the pill room. In addition to nirvana pills, there were other very precious pills. Lin Dong, the son of destiny of this world, and his brother Xiao Yan, the fire python tiger, were also in the team looting pills. The acquaintance Xiao Fan mentioned was Lin Dong. Lin Qingzu followed Xiao Fan's line of sight and soon found Lin Dong's figure. She couldn't help but feel a little surprised. It turned out to be him. I didn't expect that he really broke into this 100 Dynasties war and broke through to the Nirvana realm. Xiao Fan chuckled and said, "The son of destiny must be extraordinary." Lin Qingzu's eyes flashed when he heard this, but he didn't say much. In the vast alchemy field, elite disciples from various dynasties were frantically fighting for the precious elixirs in each alchemy room, but they didn't know that someone was watching them above them. Even Lin Dong, Xiao Yan and Zhao Diao were unable to find Xiao Fan and Lin Qingzu hidden in the void. At this moment, after Lin Dong looted a part of the Nirvana pill, he took Xiao Yan and quickly rushed to the huge alchemy room in the deepest part of the alchemy field. Because he sensed that there was the breath of the Wheel of Life and Death pill in that huge alchemy room, and the Wheel of Life and Death pill can restore Zhao Diao's physical body and make him stronger. Although those Nirvana pills were precious, they were nothing compared to Zhao Diao's recovery of his physical body. This was true both for the improvement in Zhao Diao's strength after he recovered his physical body and for the friendship between Lin Dong and Zhao Diao. Under Zhao Diao's guidance, Lin Dong used the devouring ancestral talisman and quickly opened the restriction on the door of the deepest alchemy room and opened the door. As soon as the door of the alchemy room was opened, the alchemy energy inside was like a substance that gushed out, and even Lin Dong was shaken away. Then the alchemy energy rose into the air, like a column of smoke, and was clearly visible within 100 miles. Suddenly, many people in the alchemy field noticed the movement of this alchemy room. Next, Lin Dong, like in the original book, first allowed others to take the life and death wheel pill first under Zhao Diao's guidance, resulting in the other party's arm being disabled. Then, Yuanzhang, one of the 4 overlords in the northwest region, came and wanted to snatch the life and death wheel pill, but was held back by Xiao Yan. Under Zhao Diao's guidance, Lin Dong cracked the life and death ring on the surface of the life and death wheel pill and successfully collected the life and death wheel pill. After collecting the life and death wheel pill, Lin Dong had another battle with Lin Langshan, who suddenly appeared. Xiao Fan and Lin Qingzu watched the scenes happening below in the void, just like watching a wonderful live broadcast movie, which was quite interesting. Until the end, Lin Dong and Xiao Yan simultaneously faced Lin Langshan, Yuanzhang, Zhang Shan, Mu Shao and other strong men of the same level. After Lin Dong summoned the spirit of the ancient sky crocodile, he easily defeated the 4 people, and in the end he almost killed Lin Langshan, causing Lin Langshan's mind to be replaced by the mysterious soul. At this time, it was only the last step away from the opening of the 4 profound sect ruins. Let's go meet this old friend, Xiao Fan said to Lin Qingzu with a smile, and then appeared from the void with Lin Qingzu, who had a complicated look, and landed on the square inches front of the 4 bronze gates. In the square, in addition to Tianzan, Zhang Shan and others who were driven away by Lin Dong, there were also the demon spear Liu Bei, who also possessed the ancient secret key, as well as Yan Sen, Mu Hongling and others. Everyone was originally still shocked by Lin Dong's divine power, and suddenly sensed the spatial fluctuations. Their expressions changed drastically and they were very alert. When everyone saw Xiao Fan and Lin Qingzu who suddenly arrived, they subconsciously looked at the 2 of them, and were quite curious about their identities. "Mr. Zhao, Miss Ling, long time no see, how are you 2 doing recently?" When Lin Dong sensed the spatial fluctuations, his expression was also quite shocked, and his heart was full of vigilance. However, after seeing that it was Xiao Fan and Lin Qingzu, Lin Dong immediately relaxed and took the initiative to step forward to greet the 2. Lin Dong still remembers what happened outside the ancient tomb of the Great Yan dynasty. Xiao Fan smiled slightly. "It's been a long time since we last met. It seems that you have made great progress in the past few years. We all watched the battle just now. It was very exciting." Lin Dong scratched his head. "I also want to thank Master Xiao for broadening my horizons and pointing me in the right direction." Xiao Fan smiled and shook his head. "This is your own good fortune. I see you were injured just now. Take this pill to heal your wounds." "Thank you, Master Xiao." Lin Dong hesitated for a moment, but still reached out to take the pill Xiao Fan gave him. Then, Lin Dong took the pill without hesitation, and then began to practice his energy to refine it. Liu Bei, Mu Hongling and others in the square looked at each other in surprise when they saw this scene. Mu Hongling whispered to Liu Bei, "Do you know the young man and woman who suddenly arrived just now?" Liu Bei shook his head slightly. "No, I have never seen them. However, I guess they are probably from one of the 8 super sects." Mu Hongling blinked her eyes and said with some envy, "This Lin Dong is really a lucky boy. He can actually meet people from the 8 super sects in advance, and it seems that they appreciate him very much." Liu Bei smiled and said, "This also shows that Lin Dong is indeed very good." In the Baishao mountain battle half a year later, Lin Dong may become a dazzling dark horse. At the same time, other people in the square also looked in the direction of Xiao Fan, Lin Qingzu and Lin Dong with changing expressions. Originally, some people still coveted the ancient secret key in Lin Dong's hand, and wanted to take advantage of the damage to Lin Dong after the battle to seize the ancient secret key. But now, seeing Xiao Fan and Lin Qingzu appearing silently, these people immediately dispelled the unrealistic idea in their hearts. Under the effect of the elixir Xiao Fan gave him, Lin Dong quickly recovered to his peak state. Then, Lin Dong stood up, clasped his fists to Xiao Fan, and thanked him. "Thank you, Mr. Xiao." Xiao Fan waved his hand and said, "You're welcome. I'm optimistic about you and look forward to your future achievements. Just think of me as investing in you. As for now, you should open the ruins and accept the inheritance inside." Hearing this, Lin Dong clasped his fists to Xiao Fan and saluted solemnly, and then walked to the front of the bronze gate with Xiao Yan. Afterwards, Lin Dong and Liu Bei and Yan San exchanged a few polite words, and they took out the ancient secret key at the same time and opened the bronze gate on one side of the square. "Mr. Xiao, Miss Ling, Lin Dong will leave first." Lin Dong apologized to Xiao Fan and Lin Qingzu, and then he and Xiao Yan chose a bronze gate to enter. Just as the 4 profound sect ruins were opened, in Xiao Fan's mind, the long-lost familiar voice of the system finally rang again. Chapter 297 New Rewards, New Members Joining the Group. Ding. Sign in successful. Congratulations to the host. You have received a 4-elephant pill. 4-elephant pill? What kind of pill is this? Hearing the content of the system reward, Xiao Fan's heart moved slightly, and he was a little curious about the effect of this pill. Xiao Fan separated a wisp of his mind and checked the introduction of the 4-elephant pill in the system space, and soon figured out the effect of this pill. After taking the 4-elephant pill, you can master the power of the 4 elephants at the same time, and you can choose to transform into any of the 4 elephants, Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise at will. In addition, it can also enhance your skills to a certain extent. Not bad. After reading the introduction of the 4-elephant pill, Xiao Fan was slightly satisfied. After checking the system reward, Xiao Fan gathered his mind and said to Lin Qingzu beside him, "Let's go. Let's go to other places in the ancient battlefield." Lin Qingzu nodded slightly, looked at the direction where Lin Dong's back disappeared with a complicated expression, and then to Xiao Fan to continue wandering around other places in the ancient battlefield. While strolling around, Xiao Fan did not forget to search for some cultivation resources. With Xiao Fan's strength, it would be no problem for him to search for resources in this ancient battlefield. However, Xiao Fan did not go too far. He just selected some wilderness areas where there were no disciples from the major dynasties. As for the places where there were people who participated in the 100 Dynasties War, he did not compete with them. In less than half a month, Xiao Fan, accompanied by Lin Qingzu, had already visited the entire ancient battlefield. After visiting the ancient battlefield, Xiao Fan wandered around the Wudong Qiankun world for another half a month. Seeing that the system did not trigger the sign-in task again, Xiao Fan said goodbye to Lin Qingzu and returned to the Qi world through the Wanji chat group. After returning to the Qi world, Xiao Fan did not rush out, but directly entered the space of the Yuanqi Tower, then took out the 4-elephants pill and swallowed it. As soon as the pill entered his mouth, Xiao Fan sensed a huge amount of medicinal power, which quickly poured into his body. Without any hesitation, Xiao Fan immediately activated the Thunder Emperor technique to refine and absorb the medicinal power of the 4 symbols pill. As Xiao Fan refined, His aura gradually strengthened. After an unknown amount of time, Xiao Fan's cultivation realm directly broke through from the previous 2-star deity to the level of a 5-star deity. In addition, Xiao Fan felt that his body had also undergone magical changes, and he could transform into any of the 4 symbols of Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise at any time. Not only that, Xiao Fan also mastered the vitality of Azure Dragon, the killing ability of White Tiger, the flame ability of Vermilion Bird, and the powerful defense ability of Black Tortoise. Today, Xiao Fan has not only improved his strength by a large margin, but also become more comprehensive in all aspects. After sensing that the medicinal power had been completely refined, Xiao Fan slowly stopped practicing and left the Source Chi Tower again. Just after leaving the Source Chi Tower, Xiao Fan suddenly heard the familiar prompt sound of the Wanji chat group in his mind. Ding. Zhu Yan joined the chat group. Ding. Liu Shen joined the chat group. Zhu Yan, Liu Shen. Hearing the name of the new member in the chat group, Xiao Fan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. It seems that the world level of the characters joining the chat group is getting higher and higher. Thinking in his heart, Xiao Fan welcomed the 2 in the group. Xiao Fan, at Zhu Yan, at Liu Shen, welcome the newcomers to the group. Yan Lingjai, welcome the newcomers. At Zhu Yan, are you really an immortal? Wan Wan, welcome the 2 newcomers to the group. Huang Rong, welcome new friends. Xiaoxiao, after everyone joins the group, they are all friends, don't be too formal. Mike Zuyan, he's I. Soon, most of the members in the chat group expressed their welcome to the 2 newcomers. At the same time, in the world of New White Snake, in Kina Hall, Zhu Yan was studying the medical book seriously, and suddenly a series of strange voices sounded in his mind, which scared him so much that he jumped up and said nervously, Who is talking? However, no one responded to Zhu Yan's words. Zhu Yan carefully looked around, but he didn't find anything. He couldn't help but frown, and couldn't continue to study the medical book. Did I not sleep well last night, so I had auditory hallucinations? Zhu Yan thought with some doubt. But soon, a series of voices sounded in his mind again, and rows of text appeared in front of him, which made Zhu Yan even more confused. Fortunately, Zhu Yan's master was not in the store at this time, otherwise, he would think that he had lost his mind. On the other side, Perfect World, Shi Village. At this moment, the god of Willow, who was still in the state of a willow tree, was concentrating on recuperating in order to recover as soon as possible. Suddenly, he also heard the strange voice in his mind. Compared with Zhu Yan, the god of Willow was much calmer and did not shout. The god of Willow released his spiritual sense to sense the surroundings, but did not find the existence of other creatures. He couldn't help but feel a little curious about the so-called chat group of all realms, and silently paid attention to the content of the chat group. At this moment, the old members of the Wanji chat group saw that the 2 newcomers, Liu Shen and Zhu Yan, had not made any movement after joining the group, and they couldn't help but feel a little bored. Yan Lingjai, at Xiaoxiao, do you know the origins of these 2 people? Zhu Yan and Liu Shen, is Zhu Yan a real immortal? And Liu Shen, is he a god, or are they all charlatans like you? Zialongnu, Miss Su, please tell us the stories of the 2 newcomers. Expectations. Yubuku, the newcomers this time, one is called Xian and the other is called Shen. They are also strong. Worship. Qian Renxu, I wonder if the immortals and gods in the world of the newcomers are as weak as the gods in my world. Xiaoxiao, at Yan Lingjai, Stinky Yan Lingjai, don't mention my black history anymore. In addition, you think too much. Zhu Yan is not an immortal, just an ordinary doctor, but his wife is very unusual. She is a 1,000-year-old white snake transformed into a human. Zialongnu, human snake love? It seems very interesting. Expectation. Wan, I am curious too. Smirk. Linjiu, isn't this a snake demon? Surprised. Yi Wen, in our world, the story of Zhu Yan and the white snake seems to be circulating as well. Mike Zuyan, a 1,000-year-old white snake transformed into a human? This is somewhat similar to the situation of my 8th sister. The world of the new legend of White Snake. Zhu Yan looked at the messages that appeared in front of him, and his face changed, especially when he saw what Xiaoxiao said, that his wife was a 1,000-year-old white snake transformed into a human. His face turned slightly pale. Zhu Yuan, nonsense. I don't even have a wife yet. Even if I get married in the future, I will definitely not marry a snake demon. My Zhu Yan, what's wrong with a snake demon? You are just an ordinary doctor. It should be your honor that someone is willing to marry you. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298, Not Knowing How Lucky You Are. Zhu Yuan, I didn't say that snake demons are bad, but humans and demons are on different paths. How can they be together? This is not in line with common sense. Xiaoxiao, Zhu Yuan, do you want to know why Beisuzhen wants to marry you? Zhu Yuan, who is Beisuzhen? Is it the name of the 1,000-year-old snake demon? Xiaoxiao, yes, it is her. The reason why Beisuzhen is willing to marry you is to repay your kindness to her in the past, or to say that you were Beisuzhen's savior in a previous life. Zhu, Miss Su, please tell me in detail. I want to hear it. Zhu Yuanzhang, we also want to hear the story of Beisuzhen and Zhu Yuan. In addition, can people really be reincarnated after death? Xiao Fan, different worlds have different rules. In the world where Zhu Yuan is, there is indeed the theory of reincarnation. In addition, in Zhu Yuan's world, there are real immortals, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, etc. But these are just legends in your world, old Zhu Yuanzhang. So, I was still thinking about finding my sister's reincarnation, but now it seems hopeless. Alas, Yubuku, the past cannot be retrieved. His Majesty the Emperor should look to the future. Wen, aren't we going to talk about the story of Zhu Yuan and Beisuzhen now? Let's listen to Ms. Su first. Tell us all the story of Zhu Yuan and Beisuzhen. Xiaoxiao, then I'll tell you. It's said that hundreds of thousands of years, the 1,000-year-old snake demon Beisuzhen is still a poor little snake. Following Xiaoxiao's narration, everyone in the chat group soon understood the love between Zhu Yuan and Beisuzhen, as well as some mysterious things that happened to Zhu Yuan. Huangrong, this is really a sad and beautiful love story. Yan Lingjai, that Fahai is too bad, and he has repeatedly targeted Beisuzhen. I want to go to Zhu Yuan's world and teach that Fahai lesson. Wen, I didn't expect that Beisuzhen, a monster, is more sentimental than many humans. My Zhu Yan, the intrigues and deceptions in the human world are many times more cruel than those in the demon beast world. Whether we are mysterious beasts or demon beasts, we have always been sincere. Many humans are worse than animals. Lin Lei, I quite agree with what Miss Mai said. My partner Bai Bai is also a demon beast, but he is no different from my relatives. He has always been loyal to me. However, the people who were originally close to me have gradually drifted away for some reasons. Xiao Fan, whether it is humans or demon beasts, they cannot be generalized. There are cunning people among humans, and there are cunning people among demon beasts. There are generous and kind people among humans, and there are also righteous people among demon beasts. Zhang San, what Mr. Xiao said is right. Right and wrong, good and evil, have always been in a thought, but they cannot be defined according to race and power. While everyone in the chat group was discussing it, in the world of the legend of the new white snake, Zhu Yuan's expression was changing and his mind was blank. Who am I? Where am I? Where am I going? I saved a little snake hundreds of years ago? Then the little snake cultivated into a snake demon, and transformed into a human to marry me to repay my kindness? How did this world become so outrageous? Although Zhu Yuan was just an apprentice of a doctor, he had also read the books of sages. Confucius does not speak of strange and chaotic things. Zhu Yuan has never believed in these supernatural things. He never thought that such a thing would happen to him. At this moment, Zhu Yuan was a little nervous. What if the snake demon came to him? How should he deal with it? In the original play, Zhu Yuan did not know Beisuzhen's identity at first. He was just attracted by Beisuzhen's beauty and personality, fell in love with Beisuzhen, and then married her. Later, When Zhu Yuanzhang learned from Fahai that Bei Suzhen was a snake demon, he hesitated many times. On the Dragon Boat Festival, Bei Suzhen was given Rauger wine. After Bei Suzhen showed her true form, Zhu Yuanzhang was directly scared to death. Now Zhu Yuanzhang, knowing in advance the truth that Bei Suzhen is a snake demon, dared not contact her anymore, let alone marry Bei Suzhen. Zhu Yuanzhang was thinking, but he heard some different reactions in his mind, and at the same time, a new text message appeared in front of him. Someone in the chat group, at Zhu Yuanzhang, Yan Lingjai, at Zhu Yuanzhang, why don't you speak? Are you so happy that you are dizzy? You saved a snake in your previous life, and now a beautiful and charming woman comes to marry you to repay your gratitude. Are you happy? Zhu Yuanzhang, girl, don't make fun of me. If I didn't know Bei Suzhen's identity, I might still marry her in a muddle, but now that I know Bei Suzhen's identity, it is impossible for me to marry her. Toshan Hongnong, why? Is it because Bei Suzhen is a snake demon? Zhu Yuanzhang, yes, as the saying goes, humans and demons are different. How can humans and demons be combined? Moreover, the person who saved Bei Suzhen hundreds of years ago is actually not the same person as me now, and Bei Suzhen has no need to repay me. Wang Teng, a fool's opinion. Since Bei Suzhen has transformed into a human, she is no different from humans. How can there be a saying that humans and demons are on different paths? In our world, there are many cases of humans and demons marrying each other, and there is nothing wrong with that. Luo Feng, Zhu Yuanzhang, you really don't know how lucky you are. If such a beautiful woman came to me to pledge her love to me, I would not refuse. Smirk, Zhu Yuanzhang, this. Everyone has different ideas, so let's not talk about my business. Speaking of which, I still don't understand what the Swanji chat group is. I wonder which friend can introduce it to me. Yan Lingjai, at Xiaoxiao, Su the Great God, it's time for you to perform. Naughty, Xiaoxiao, at Yan Lingjai, Stinky Yan Lingjai, if you keep yelling, I will teach you a lesson the next time we meet. Xiaoxiao, at Zhu Yuanzhang, let me introduce you to the function of the Wanji chat group. This Wanji chat group, following Xiaoxiao's introduction, Zhu Yuanzhang quickly understood the function of the Wanji chat group, and was shocked. His worldview over the years was broken. There is a God above your head. It seems that this sentence is really more than just talk. I just don't know what the other worlds are like. After reading Xiaoxiao's introduction to the Wanji chat group, Zhu Yuanzhang couldn't help but think secretly in his heart. At the same time, in the perfect world, Willow God has been paying attention to the messages in the Wanji chat group. Today, Willow God is still in the form of a willow tree, but she has extraordinary strength. As for understanding the text messages in the chat group, naturally there is no problem. However, Willow God is also very wary of this Wanji chat group that suddenly appeared, so he has been paying attention to the movements in the group, but did not speak rashly. At this moment, after reading Xiaoxiao's introduction to the function of the Wanji chat group, Willow God also explored the situation of the chat group according to the prompts. Is it a mysterious existence that can connect the Wanji? I wonder who created this treasure. The Willow God shook his branches slightly, thinking silently in his heart. Chapter 299 Willow God's Surprise. Heading to the New World. While Willow God was silently observing the chat group of the 10,000 worlds, someone in the chat group also remembered the new member Willow God. Yan Lingjai, what about the other newcomer Willow God? Why doesn't he show up? At Willow God, come out and say something. Wan, I wonder if this Willow God is a willow tree that has become a god? Playful, Xiao Fan, haha, that's not wrong. However, in the world of Willow God, gods are not particularly powerful, and what practitioners pursue is the way of immortality. Willow God is a strong man in the realm of a mortal king, but now he is injured and his strength is not at its peak. I wonder what exciting stories this Willow God has? Expectation. Xiaoxiao, at Xiao Fan, Lord Thunder Emperor, will you tell the story of Willow God or should I? Xiao Fan, haha, you should do it. I won't steal your chance to perform. Xiaoxiao, hee, then thank Lord Thunder Emperor. Next, Xiaoxiao recounted the deeds of Willow God from beginning to end, just like she usually did when she recounted the deeds of others. Perfect world. Shi Village. Willow God in the form of a willow tree was shocked when he saw Xiaoxiao telling some of her deeds in the chat group. What is the origin of this 10,000 worlds chat group? And the Xiaoxiao and Xiao Fan in the group seem to know a lot about their own affairs. Could they be some powerful people from the upper realm who are proficient in the art of heavenly secrets? After a brief pause, Willow God sent a message in the group. Willow God, how did Ms. Su know what happened to me? Although Willow God is now in the form of a willow tree, in the 10,000 worlds chat group, you don't need to write to send messages, so it doesn't have any effect. Seeing Willow God popping up, without waiting for Xiaoxiao to respond, the others got excited first. Yan Lingjai, at Willow God, you finally appeared. Newcomer, are you in the form of a willow tree now, or have you turned into a human form? I heard that you are already an immortal, and the king among immortals. Who else can hurt you? Dongba, meet Lord Liu Shen, hand in hand. Wang Teng, at Liu Shen, have you really reached the realm of immortal king? Zhu Yuan, hello, Liu Shen, he's an Eastern immortal? I wonder what level you can reach in the Angel Nebula. Liu Shen, hello, I did reach the realm of immortal king, but now my strength is only 1/10 of what it used to be. Liu Shen did not have much intention to respond to everyone's messages, and she did not like to communicate with strangers. Xiaoxiao also responded to Liu Shen's question when everyone was sending messages. Xiaoxiao, at Liu Shen, the reason why I know about you, Liu Shen, and the deeds of Zhu Yuan and others is because I am a time traveler. As for time travelers, soon, Xiaoxiao roughly explained the concept of time travelers to Liu Shen and Zhu Yuan. After reading Xiaoxiao's introduction, Liu Shen couldn't help but feel a little surprised. This was the first time he had seen such a situation. In their world, there may be strong people who can travel through time and space, but there are no travelers from other worlds. Yan Lingjai, there are more travelers in the group than Xiaoxiao. Brother Xiao Fan is also a traveler, and he knows more than Xiaoxiao and is many times stronger than her. Zhu Yuan, the world is so big that there are really all kinds of things. I didn't expect that such a situation would happen. I wonder if there are travelers in our world. Xiao Fan, at Zhu Yuan, as far as I know, there are no travelers in your world. However, now that you have joined the Wanji chat group, everything has changed, and it's hard to say. Xiaoxiao, at Wang Teng, by the way, the world where Liu Shen is actually a parallel world of your world, but the time is in your ancient times. The world of the sky. When Wang Teng saw Xiaoxiao's news, his pupils couldn't help but shrink, and his mind was greatly shocked. In the ancient times, there really were real immortals. Moreover, Liu Shen was also among the strong in the fairyland. In this era, even the great emperor can only be born once, not to mention the immortal. After a while of changing his mind, Wang Teng sent a message in the group again. Wang Teng, at Liu Shen, Senior Liu Shen, can you tell me why the road to immortality is cut off? Liu Shen, there is no such thing as the road to immortality being cut off. The difficulty of becoming an immortal is different in different eras. Whether you can cultivate to become an immortal depends on your own luck. Xiaoxiao, at Wang Teng, young Master Wang, you should become a real great emperor first, and then consider becoming an immortal. Wang Teng looked at the messages from Liu Shen and Xiaoxiao and did not respond. He was thinking about something in his heart, and secretly remembered Liu Shen's words in his heart. At this time, Zhu Yuanzhang sent a message to say goodbye. Zhu Yuanzhang, I still have some things to deal with, so I'll leave first. Friends, you can come to our world to play when you have time. Lin Jiayu, I also have to hurry to deal with a zombie, so I'll go offline first. I'll chat with you next time. After Zhu Yuanzhang and Lin Jiayu, many people temporarily went offline from the chat group interface. Zhu Yuan, I still have some homework to do in the medicine shop, so I'll take my leave now. We'll talk next time. Liu Shen, I have to continue recuperating. You guys chat. Not long after, the chat group was left with a few regulars such as Xiaoxiao, Huang Rong, Yan Lingjai, etc. Xiao Fan briefly exchanged a few words with them and chose to exit the chat group interface. Xiao Fan was quite interested in the worlds of the two new members. After all, The new member worlds all have a guaranteed 1 sign-in, and the first sign-in rewards are quite generous. However, there is no need to rush. Xiao Fan's current cultivation level has long been invincible in the Qi continent, so there is no need to rush to improve. Xiao Fan plans to spend a few days communicating with Zhu Yuanzhang and Liu Shen, and then it won't be too late to sign into the 2 new worlds after he is relatively familiar with them. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, 7 days have passed since Zhu Yuanzhang and Liu Shen joined the chat group. In the past few days, under the guidance of Xiaoxiao and Yan Lingjai, 2 chatterboxes, Zhu Yuanzhang and Liu Shen occasionally sent a few messages in the chat group. Xiao Fan had nothing to do, so he also exchanged a few words with them. On this day, after Xiao Fan chatted with Zhu Yuanzhang for a while again, he proposed to him the idea of going to his world. When Zhu Yuanzhang saw the message sent by Xiao Fan, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, and then he also responded, "Zhu Yuanzhang, Mr. Xiao, do I just need to use the invitation function of the chat group to invite you, and then you can come to our world?" Xiao Fan: "Yes, in fact, even if you don't invite, I can go to the world of other group members at will as the group owner. It's just that I hope to communicate with you in advance, so that I don't suddenly appear and scare you, or disturb others, which is not good." Yan Lingjai, at Zhu Yuanzhang: "He, brother Xiao Fan is afraid that you, a coward, will be scared to death." Zhu Yuanzhang: Who said I am a coward? It's normal for me to be afraid of monsters. As for the arrival of Master Xiao, I'm just surprised at most." After responding to Yan Lingjai, Zhu Yuanzhang also directly invited Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan explained in the group, and then agreed to Zhu Yuanzhang's invitation and traveled to Zhu Yuanzhang's world. Chapter 300 New Sign-In, Encounter at West Lake, the world of the legend of White Snake, Hangzhou City. In a quiet room in the backyard of Qinda Hall, Zhu Yuanzhang looked around, wanting to see how Fan would come to their world. This room was the residence arranged by his master when Zhu Yuanzhang was learning from his master in Qinda Hall. Zhu Yuanzhang was worried that Xiao Fan's sudden appearance would attract the attention of others, so he returned to the room in advance and waited for Xiao Fan to arrive. Zhu Yuanzhang was looking around, and suddenly found that a golden light appeared in the middle of the room, and an illusory mysterious light door slowly appeared. From the illusory mysterious light door, a handsome young man in a green shirt stepped down from the air and landed beside him. You are Mr. Xiao Fan?" Zhu Yuanzhang was stunned when he saw this scene, and he spoke in shock after a while. This green shirt figure was naturally Xiao Fan, who came from the Qi world through the Wanji chat group. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Yes, I'm Xiao Fan. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Zhu." Zhu Yuanzhang felt embarrassed and said, "I'm not a young master. You should just call me by my name, or you can call me Hanwen." Hanwen is Zhu Yuanzhang's courtesy name. Xiao Fan smiled and said, "Then I'll call you Hanwen." "Hanwen, do you have anything to do today?" Zhu Yuanzhang said, "My master gave me a day off today, so I can just take a day off." "How about this? I'll take you, Mr. Xiao, to walk around the city and see different scenery." Xiao Fan nodded and said, "Okay. Thank you for the trouble." Zhu Yuanzhang smiled and waved his hand and said, "It's not a trouble. It's not a trouble. I'm just about to go out for some fun." Xiao Fan smiled and didn't say any more polite words. He went out of the back door of the pharmacy with Zhu Yuanzhang and then strolled outside the city. While strolling on the street, Zhu Yuanzhang introduced with a smile, "Hangzhou City is most famous for the beautiful scenery of West Lake. Do you want me to take you to West Lake to see it?" "Okay." Xiao Fan had no objection to this, and immediately agreed. Next, Xiao Fan and Zhu Yuanzhang went to the direction of West Lake. While rushing on the road, Xiao Fan did not forget the main purpose of his coming to this world, and directly gave the system a sign-in command in his heart. Xiao Fan had just given the system a command in his heart, and the familiar voice of the system sounded in his mind again. "Ding! Sign-in successful. Congratulations to the host. You have obtained a Dragon Transformation Pill." Dragon Transformation Pill? Hearing the name of this pill, Xiao Fan felt a little unfamiliar, and silently separated a wisp of his mind to check the introduction of this Dragon Transformation Pill. Dragon Transformation Pill: beasts with dragon blood, after taking it, can evolve into dragons within 10 years. If human practitioners take it, It can give them the ability to transform into dragons and greatly improve their cultivation. This elixir is quite interesting. After reading the introduction of the dragon transformation pill, Xiao Fan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly, thinking secretly in his heart. This kind of precious elixir, he naturally had no intention of giving it to other people or beasts. Xiao Fan temporarily put the dragon transformation pill into the system space, waiting for the right time to take it out to refine and absorb. With Zhu Yuanzhang leading the way, the two soon arrived at the edge of West Lake. As the most famous scenic spot in Hangzhou, West Lake has countless tourists coming to visit almost every day, and today is no exception. Zhu Yuanzhang looked at the beautiful scenery on the West Lake and said with a smile on his face, "West Lake is still as lively as ever, but the scenery here is so beautiful that even if you come to visit it many times, you still can't see enough." Xiao Fan looked at the beautiful scenery of West Lake and nodded slightly, saying, "It is indeed a beautiful scenery." Xiao Fan temporarily restrained other thoughts and enjoyed the beautiful scenery of West Lake with Zhu Yuanzhang. "Hey, why is there a gold hairpin here?" Xiao Fan was looking up at the beautiful scenery in the center of West Lake when he suddenly heard Zhu Yuanzhang's surprised voice. Hearing Zhu Yuanzhang's voice, Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly, retracted his sight from the center of the lake, and looked around him and Zhu Yuanzhang. At the same time, Zhu Yuanzhang picked up the gold hairpin on the ground and was also searching everywhere. Zhu Yuanzhang just wanted to find the owner of the gold hairpin and didn't think too much. Xiao Fan was slightly surprised and could only say that it was too coincidental. "Miss, is this the gold hairpin you dropped?" Soon, Zhu Yuanzhang found the suspected owner of the gold hairpin in the crowd and hurriedly chased after him. Xiao Fan raised his eyebrows slightly and followed behind Zhu Yuanzhang, while looking at the person Zhu Yuanzhang was chasing. From behind, the woman's face could not be seen, but she could see that she had a graceful figure, which was definitely a disaster for the country and the people. Hearing Zhu Yuanzhang's shout, the woman stopped and turned around. Suddenly, a stunning face came into the sight of Xiao Fan and Zhu Yuanzhang. The woman was wearing a white dress, with a shy smile on her face, like a fairy from heaven, so beautiful that it was beyond description. Next to the woman in white, there was another girl in a green dress, whose appearance was slightly inferior. Just by looking at the makeup of the two, Xiao Fan could almost confirm their identities. When Zhu Yuanzhang saw the face of the woman in white, he was stunned on the spot, holding the golden hairpin in his hand, and couldn't even speak for a while. Xiao Fan stepped forward, patted Zhu Yuanzhang's shoulder gently, and chuckled, "Brother Hanwen, aren't you going to return the golden hairpin to others?" After being reminded by Xiao Fan, Zhu Yuanzhang immediately came back to his senses, raised the golden hairpin with both hands, and handed it to the woman in white. "Girl, your golden hairpin." "This is indeed my golden hairpin. I accidentally dropped it just now. Thank you very much, young master." The woman in white reached out to take the golden hairpin, casually inserted it into her bun, and smiled and thanked her. Zhu Yuanzhang waved his hand and said, "Just return the item to its original owner." "You're welcome." The green-clad woman on the side rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "Two gentlemen, we met by chance. How about we travel together?" Hearing this, Zhu Yuanzhang looked at Xiao Fan and asked for his opinion. "Brother Xiao, what do you think?" Xiao Fan smiled slightly. "I have no objection." Zhu Yuanzhang bowed slightly to the two women and said gently, "Then I'm sorry to bother you." The white-clad woman said, "My sister invited you." "How can it be said that I'm being presumptuous? We sisters are from other places and are not very familiar with Hangzhou. We would like to ask you for more advice." Zhu Yuanzhang said, "I don't deserve your advice. But I'm a local and I know more about Hangzhou. If you have any questions, you can ask me." Xiao Fan watched this scene silently on the side and didn't say much. The group strolled along the West Lake for a while, and then rented a small boat to enjoy the center of the lake. Seeing that it was almost evening, the few people took the boat back to the shore. The woman in white said with a smile, "Thank you two gentlemen for returning my gold hairpin today, and for introducing us sisters to many West Lake scenery. I am very grateful." "It is getting late today, so we sisters will take our leave first, and see you next time if we are lucky." Xiao Fan smiled and said, "By the way, may I ask for your names? My brother Han Wen is thinking of you very much." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.